Hello, everybody. This is GMillion. All right, I am back and ready to get naked and stream. Let me know if my audio level is too loud. It kind of looks like it is from here, so let me lower it down a little bit. How's that? Um, let's see. Let me. Whoops. I'm not used to using my iPad for sure. There we go. Yeah. All right. I think it might be good. Um, what's up? What's up? How's it going? Just doing a quick little test on my audio levels before we get started. All right. That's good. Let me turn it down. Now, I've been doing a lot of content like going down the rabbit holes and doing some restreams and all that fun stuff. I just wanted to change up and I'll play some video games here and there. I did get a gaming laptop that I want to start gaming on, and I could always go back to gaming on my PS5 or Series X. But another thing I do like to do show and tell for everybody. Let's see. First item on my list, I like to collect manga. So the first item on my list is Mariku-chan Part 5 or Volume 5. It came out today. Can't wait to read it as soon as I get Volume 1 in. Zom 100. I believe this might be Volume 6. If I remember correctly, it's really hard to Volume 6, Zom 100. You can see right there. Lastly on my list, Marshall, Volume 6. So a lot of 6s and 1 5 today. So I can't wait to read those. I got my drinks. Around here somewhere. All right. We are going to start. All right. Let's get into full screen mode. There we go. Oh, my camera's not on. Why isn't my camera on? I'll fix that for you guys. I was doing some tests and I forgot to put my camera back on. Boom. All right. All right. So what we're doing today is a looks like a 4-part documentary of Chris Chan. We are not going to watch them all this stream. We'll probably watch a couple hours of them because I will be pausing them and doing some reactions. And tomorrow's stream, we will be doing some restreams of DSPs. So we will get started now.
About my house of the internet!
This is Christian Weston Chandler, previously known as Christopher before an animatronic bear said his name wrong, which led him to have it changed. Soon to be known as Christine when she transitioned to be a woman, but online trolls call them Chris Chan. He's demanding a video showing his hoarding situation be taken off the internet so that his elderly parents won't have their house condemned by the government. Who would report him? Well, that would be a dedicated group of internet users who have cataloged this man's life for the past 15 years, making him one of the most well-documented people in human history with his wiki containing thousands of pages. This includes a Nickelodeon cartoon character stealing his girlfriend, a doppelganger trying to steal his identity, him being catfished by a dozen different women, the destruction of his PlayStation 3 for a fake bounty, money stolen from his bank account, his house catching on fire, the macing of a GameStop employee, running over a store owner with his car, getting tricked by the creator of the Super Mario Brothers, and having his character Sonic Chew stolen by a British sports commentator. Sonic Chew is a hybrid of Sonic and Pikachu that Chris created an entire comic series for. This character is also his real-life alter ego that he believes will one day bring about an interdimensional merge that will reveal him to be the reincarnation of Jesus. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's go back to the beginning.
Okay, so I've been on and off about the whole Chris Chan situation. I hear some funny stuff and some bad stuff about it, and I didn't hear everything when it came to Chris Chan, so yeah, so I'm gonna be learning some stuff too, okay?
So for years now, people have been asking me to do a video talking about Chris Chan, and the problem is I just never knew where to begin on the subject. So for the past month now, I've been trying to get in touch with Chris Chan in any way I could. But after all that failed, I messaged Coppets. He responded right away and asked me if I wanted to do an interview with Chris Chan, and the answer to that was absolutely yes. So within a few days, I get a cameraman and I am heading down a couple hours, making a road trip out of it to meet the notorious Chris Chan in person. And this is the street.
Yeah, this is true dedication right here.
Is that it?
I mean, that looks...
Sonic Chew. Look.
Sonic.
Zoom in on the license plate.
Hold on. See if I can get that.
Bro.
Hello. Hi. Hey. How are you?
Art, is that right? How's it going, Christian and Christine?
I'm Jesse.
Jesse, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Christine, hello. I'm Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse.
Nice to meet you.
All right. I suppose we can go inside.
Yeah, let's go
In?
inside.
Okay.
We're gonna do the interview downstairs.
Okay. Oh.
Downstairs.
Okay.
We're gonna get a first glimpse of his house right here.
Quiet down! Quiet down! Quiet! All right, everybody's inside.
Oh. Okay. All right. Well, this is
Yep.
very nice.
Yeah, this is the room where it was
This is where
Sonic
it all
Chew Shrine.
Sonic Chew.
In this
Those
Sonic
dogs
Chew.
are screaming Blake.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't see.
They calm down after a little bit
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that thing on right now?
Yeah. Is that okay?
Oh, hello. Hello out there, hello out there, YouTube, internet, all that. Hello. Hello. Hope we're all having a good day. There's your intro. Kinda.
All right. Yeah. Good enough.
Episode 1, The Birth of Chris Chan.
Even prior to his birth, Chris's parents' relationship gave many reasons for concern. Bob and Barbara Chandler were aged 54 and 40 respectively. At this later time in a couple's life, most are dissuaded by medical professionals from having children. This is for a variety of reasons. As many studies have shown, such an age difference would leave a large generational gap between parent and child. In some cases, this can put the child at risk of growing up socially stunted, as from a biological standpoint, they also have a larger chance of facing health complications at birth. More specific to the Chandlers as individuals, however, was the hastiness of their relationship. Prior to Chris's birth, the two had been married for only 2 years. They'd wed quickly in a bid to escape their previous marriages. Consequently, they held strained relationships with their previous families, with Barbara's in particular being intense. Additionally, they were both alcoholics, having even first met each other in a bar. Of course, that's not to say that their family unity was doomed from the start. In spite of these imperfections, it was far from unsalvageable. But these details are important in establishing that from their newborn's conception, it was an uphill battle. Such a dynamic requires a consistent and active effort to maintain normalcy, one that the Chandlers may have not been ready to face. Christopher Weston Chandler was born in Charlottesville, Virginia on February 24th, 1982. In those first few months of life, Chris was an average toddler. His first word, according to his mother, was monkey, a rather cute mispronunciation of mommy. However, it wasn't long before problems would arise. To start, in spite of having a
So Chris Chan was definitely older than me because I was born in 87.
newborn child, they continued their nightly routine of going out drinking. To babysit Chris, as well as his half-brother Cole, who lived with them at the time, they appointed Rochelle, a woman who lived in the same neighborhood as the family. Chris's sibling later recalled that it was apparent to him, even as a youngster, that she was unfit to be caring for children. As the story goes, one night in August of 1983, Rochelle became irritated with Christopher after he interrupted her phone call. She opted to punish the toddler by locking him in a room by himself for the rest of the night. Christopher, who was just 1.5 years old at the time, was traumatized to the point that when he was rescued, he refused to speak entirely. In fact, he regressed to the point of only communicating through screaming and crying for the next 6 years. To compensate for this newfound aphasia, his parents began taking him to attend speech therapy classes, which is where he was first diagnosed as being autistic, with the doctor predicting that he would likely never write his own name, let alone make it to high school. In a strange twist of events, Bob and Barbara would continue leaving Christopher with the delinquent babysitter for the next few years, likely so they could continue their tradition of late-night benders. This led
Why wouldn't the babysitter just be like, fuck him, dude? I quit.
his stepbrother Cole to attribute Chris's early muteness as largely being the fault of their neglect, a trend that would only worsen with time. Though the assertion that neglect was the source of his autism is baseless, the babysitter's supposed actions undeniably exacerbated Chris's condition. And in spite of its immediate consequences, they failed to take many basic preventative measures. In 1985, a new family moved into the Chandlers' neighborhood. With a child of their own, the families quickly became cordial with each other. This naturally led to Christopher becoming playmates with the couple's daughter, Sarah Hammer. Chris has a fond view of the years he spent with Sarah, reflecting upon them by proclaiming her to be a lifelong best friend. Unfortunately, the young girl would often pull mean-spirited pranks on the autistic child. An example of this was when she once convinced Chris that the cartoon character, Casper the Friendly Ghost, lived in the crawl space under her home. Once the young boy had crawled under the residence to look for himself, she proceeded to lock him in, trapping Chris until her father came to the rescue. While one could argue that events such as these implicate her as a foe, Chris insists far more positive than negative experiences. He dismissed them as just childish pranks, overshadowed by his cherished memories of them playing. According to Chris himself, it was her that brought him out of his autistic social shell for the time. At home, Christopher's life was surrounded by music and pop culture. Unable to speak, he spent much of his time consuming children's entertainment such as Sesame Street, Care Bears, and Transformers. Bob even purchased a Commodore 64 home computer, sparking Chris's lifelong interest in technology and video games. His father was proud of Chris for being able to operate the personal computer before he could even speak, programming his own games on the console by age 6. Accompanying the Chandlers was their pet dog Patty, who Chris had picked out himself from his Aunt Karina's litter. At this point, his home life wasn't perfect, but it was comfortable. Unfortunately, things would only get worse when he began to attend school. The year was 1987, when he was dropped at the front door of Greene County Primary School. With Chris's struggles to communicate, this marked the beginning of many obstacles he'd have to overcome in his academic career. In spite of this, Bob was optimistic. In order to inspire his son, he penned a heartfelt letter detailing his expectations.
The reason for this open letter to you, which will grow as time goes on, is that I know now that I, at best, haven't much time left to share myself with you, particularly to share my things, my dreams, and my thoughts with you at a time in the future when you will be able to understand. Remember to use my things and carry on my dreams if you want to.
A distinct characteristic of the letter is that it's written informally. It's meant to be read as if he and Chris were speaking face to face, a clearly intimate discussion. Bob goes on to explain personal matters such as his previous marriages and what he sought to avoid when raising Chris.
I didn't plan my life. I just took it as it came along. I seem to have had no control over it. It always came along with what was right for me. Look at me 8 years ago in 1979, when I was really down and out and ready to cash in my chips with heart problems that I didn't even know about. Your mother, Barbara Ann, helped me through the rough spots, and together we had you. Now I really had something to live for. No better things or events could have happened to me. We've come a long way in the last 8 years. Together we have built a whole new life with an exciting set of dreams.
But by far the most important message Bob wanted Chris to take away was the importance of legacy. He recounts the story of how he carelessly broke his late grandfather's straight razor, an item that held great sentimental value to him, and how it caused him to realize the respect he ought to hold for their memories. From this, he hoped his son would cherish any future inherited belongings he might be given by his father, such as his prize stamp collection.
Do not be in such a hurry to use, play, or work with these things. First, learn all about them, how to use them and enjoy them, their value, and how you can thoughtlessly waste their value, then enjoy them as I have. As a boy, my greatest dream was to have inherited things from my mother, father, grandparents, etc. All of my books, stamp collections, and records. My dreams for you, your mother, and other personal things.
This idealized new life he wished to build with Chris and Barbara would culminate in the backyard of the Chandlers' house. In 1989, Bob created a plaque and placed it on their backyard shed, proclaiming it as the dreaming studio of Mr. C and Little C. It's here that he'd attempt to teach Chris how to create things. Evidently, the dreaming studio didn't last long enough to make a true impact on Chris though, because in spite of the clear sentimental value Bob placed on his belongings, Chris would later sell his father's cherished stamp collection in 2017, using the profits to purchase toys. While on the subject of games, when examining the Chandlers' Christmas of 1989, it can be discovered that Christopher received a Nintendo Game Boy from Santa, his second ever video game console. It was that same year that the young boy purportedly began speaking again.
I remember when I first got my Game Boy. I think my mom... Holy shit, my camera's all fucked up. I think my mom took us to the Navy Exchange, and we pretty much just bought like 3 of them. I could fix my camera real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get online. There we go. And it will eventually... It's eventually going to go back to normal. There we go. Alright, sorry about that.
With the help of his speech therapist. By age 7, Chris had defied the professional's original expectations of him, an accomplishment that he'd wear with pride for the rest of his academic career. Soon after regaining his voice, for unknown reasons, Christopher was transferred from Greene County Primary School to Nathaniel Greene Elementary to attend the 4th grade. Although he was still riding off the success of regaining his speaking abilities, the administrators at this new school were not as impressed. While we'll never know for sure what happened there, legal documents indicate that the district had attempted to place him at a separate special education school, a decision that Bob and Barbara fought tooth and nail. It's speculated that they felt Chris's recent successes proved he didn't need the accommodations. Additionally, given their advanced age, they likely had a different perception of special ed than what was offered at the time. Regardless, the parents escalated the conflict. Chris recounts his experience at the school as one of frequent physical abuse, notoriously recalling an incident in which 5 facility members, including the school principal, pinned him down to the floor and recorded his cries on an audio cassette tape. Chris attributes this alleged assault to having been motivated by lust, going so far as to accuse the principal of being a pedo. He claims that the man had him sit on his lap before whispering quote-unquote offensive things to the young child. However, given the detail that the alleged assault was recorded, some have speculated it's much more likely that Chris had thrown a tantrum, and facility members recorded his cries as evidence that he couldn't function in a mainstream institution. Upon learning of the incident, Bob filed legal action against the administration, causing Chris to be homeschooled during the proceedings.
See, that's fucked up. Like, obviously Chris needed to go to special education, but Bob, the father, refuses, and the school was just trying to help him trying to get into special ed, but nope. Here comes Bob, fighting tooth and nail, and now he's gonna be homeschooled. So we'll see what happens.
Case was eventually dropped in 1994. At this point, with the young boy's mainstream enrollment still in jeopardy, Bob and Chris moved to Chesterfield County so they could legally attend a different school district. This forced Bob to retire, becoming a stay-at-home father. In order to continue working her job, Barbara remained at their home in Ruckersville, though she would come to visit them every weekend. The decision to keep Chris in public school is perhaps the single most significant turning point regarding his early development. The failure to provide accommodations for his special needs led to feelings of ostracization and appeared to hinder Chris's social development. Jumping forward to the Christmas season of 1992, Bob and Chris made a stop at the Regency Square Mall. At this shopping center was an animatronic creature named Leonard Bearstein, who conducted a symphony orchestra as part of a musical program. The animatronic was designed to be interactive, engaging with the audience in conversation through its human operator. The crowd was light that Thursday afternoon, causing Christopher to be able to have a largely one-on-one conversation with the robot between songs. Chris was spellbound, leading him and Bob to watch the performance for the next hour. In the midst of their conversation, Leonard Bearstein asked Christopher for his name. When Chris responded, the operator must have misheard him, as he began referring to the child as Christian. Following that interaction, the mistake stuck, with Chris going so far as to request his name be changed from Christopher to Christian. Oddly enough, Bob and Barbara agreed, and had it legally changed the following year. With this brand new first name bestowed upon him by an animatronic bear, the now adolescent boy continued his education at Providence Middle School in the fall of 1993. He later described this campus as being much more pleasant than Nathaniel Green, and attributes his happiness there to a teacher named Mrs. Sanford, who is to date the only educator that Chris has singled out favorably. She helped the child develop social skills and instructed him on how to cope with the verbal bullying he endured. Upon his graduation from Providence, Mrs. Sanford wrote a personal letter addressed to Chris, in which she gave him heartfelt advice and bid her well wishes.
If you show people where your weak points are located, then they will know how to push your button. If you never show them, they will never know. Do your very best at Manchester. Put your best foot forward and treat others as you wish to be treated. Love, Mrs. Sanford.
16-bit arcade graphics.
Of all the pop culture movements in the 90s, one of the most prominent was the mascot with attitude trend, and the most notable example of this was Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. Debuting in 1991, the Blue Blur is most notable for his extreme speed. Made specifically to appeal to Western markets, the character was a massive success, quickly receiving his own syndicated Saturday morning cartoon in 1993. To promote the release of this new TV series, Sega hosted a contest known as the Sonic the Hedgehog Watch and Win Sweepstakes, in which they challenged viewers to write down what Sonic said at the end of each episode. Upon mailing in their transcriptions, they would then be entered into a drawing, where they'd have a chance to win a $1,000 shopping spree at KB Toys. As an early adopter of the Sonic craze, Christian entered the contest, and as luck would have it, when the winners were selected in February of 1994, he actually won.
What I had to do was exactly watch Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon and I'd listen to what Sonic says at the end of it, and write it down for a whole week, and then I had to mail it in, and I had to be drawn out of a hat, and I just won.
This victory marked the beginning
never
of
won any of
Christian's
those
obsession with
sweepstakes
Sonic,
things.
who would go on to become his professed lifelong hero. And after the high of this spending spree, it wouldn't be the last time he entered a contest. By the spring of 1996, the family was once again together as Barbara retired from her job to live with her husband and son in Chesterfield County. This wouldn't last long, however, as according to Chris, some of their neighbors began spreading harmful rumors regarding the family. While what happened has never been specified, the situation was apparently vitriolic enough to cause them to relocate to an apartment complex just outside of Richmond. But being immersed in his pop culture pastimes, Chris was largely unfazed by these developments. It was that September that Christian finally began his first year at Manchester High, a period he would retrospectively deem the happiest times of his life. At this school is where the creation of his very first Sonic the Hedgehog fan character, Bionic the Hedgehog, was conceived. Spending much of his freshman year as a water boy for the varsity basketball team, he came up with the character after being hit in the head with a basketball while he was daydreaming about Sega's gaming mascot. It is rather fittingly an orange recolor of Sonic that likes to play sports. This 9th grade year would also mark the beginning of his passive love quest, developing a major crush on a cheerleader he'd met during practice. After befriending the young lady,
Here we go. Now it's gonna be getting a little weird, I think.
He quickly confessed that he had feelings for her, to which she politely turned him down. In contrast to his time at Providence, Chris's years at Manchester High were filled with far more conflict. In sophomore year, Christian was forcibly assigned to take the special education bus after a petty conflict with another student. According to Chris, he and another teen would race every day to see who could exit the vehicle first. This competition escalated, eventually culminating in the boy punching Chris in order to beat him out the door. However, like many of Chris's recollections from this period, what actually occurred is rather unclear. Across his various recountings of the bus incident, Chris has contradicted himself numerous times. He claimed that he both did and didn't fight back, and also went back and forth on whether or not his glasses had been broken. What has remained consistent, however, is his adamance that he was blameless. He bemoaned that in spite of instigating the fight, the other boy quote-unquote got off scot-free. Regardless of the truth.
What I want to know, how did Gamer from Mars get all these drawings from? Did Chris draw them all, or what?
It was because of this conflict that he was removed from the mainstream busing system and forced to ride with who he rudely described as the slow in the minds. At this point, it's worth discussing Chris's particular distaste towards the developmentally disabled, one that illustrates the ableism instilled in him by his parents. It's clear at this age, Chris uncritically took the words of authority figures to heart. In what are typically the years of rebellion for most teens, Chris was remarkably obedient. This can be observed rather transparently in his first self-produced video titled Song of Christian. In this clip, Chris goes on multiple tangents about grievances he holds with his peers, such as their use of vulgar language.
Of course, you're not talking about those despicable, rude words they got there. I mean, they're all boop and son of a boop. You understand what I'm talking about? I mean, that just really ticks me off. But you should never ever do it. I mean, it's just rude. Very rude. I mean, I'm just sick of it. I mean, yeah.
This would only be the start of Chris's self-produced recordings.
It's Alvin and the Chipmunks. Let's give them a big hand.
Yeah, return when you do like that, boy. You did it. We are doing okay.
Hello. My name is Barbara Chandler, and I'm calling to request a song for my husband for his birthday.
No kidding.
His name is Bob Chandler, and he's 71 years old today.
No kidding.
And the song I would like to request is A Bushel and a Peck.
Bushel and a peck and a hug around the neck for a 71-year-old man?
I think so.
As Christian entered his junior year, the maturity one would expect from a high school student didn't seem to be developing. In a mock radio broadcast Chris recorded for fun, his mother humors him as if he's a child, while he pretends to have guests such as Alvin and the Chipmunks on the program. Of his time at Manchester High, 11th grade has the most documentation. Recovered assignments illustrate how he performed at school, and the actual quality of his work against the grades he received. One of the first leaked projects is dated October 29th, 1998. Intended to be an icebreaker activity for his chemistry class, Chris notably refused to talk to any male students, leaving all their spaces blank. In spite of his woes of loneliness, things weren't entirely hopeless. It was in that class he would become lab partners with two female students, Kelly Andes and Sarah Bevel. They would be some of his first quote-unquote gal pals, a term Chris later coined to describe all of his female friends. Chris has reasoned that his autism test found that he got along better with women.
He's probably going to have a
rather than
crush
men.
on at least
Chris's gal
one of
pals
them.
would make up the entirety of his social life throughout high school, to varying degrees of sincerity. Perhaps the most earnest of these was Tiffany Gowan, who sat with Christian every day during lunch. It's worth noting that during this time, Chris was extremely naive on relationships and sex. He apparently was unaware of the idea of dating until he turned 21, a testament to his shelteredness. Evidently, the sit-down talk of puberty never came. But where Chris's parents failed, entertainment took its place, a trend that would be recurrent throughout his life. As Chris recalls, after unlocking the parental controls on his television, he accidentally came across a suggestive scene in a film and had his first erection. Part of the known curriculum Chris took that year was a cooking class, evidenced by recovered kitchen safety worksheets he'd completed. In an assignment titled Safety First, he notes, "What could happen if you plug too many appliances into one outlet? It could start a fire." Christian also took child development classes, which included the activity of simulated parenthood. This is done through a variety of different methods, be it an interactive infant doll or, in Chris's case, an empathy belly, an attachable pregnancy stomach meant to enable students to understand the effects of carrying a child.
The belly made it uncomfortable for me to cross my legs, and when my legs were separated, it put pressure on my private part, which gave me a strange, weird feeling. So, it was quite an experience while I had a belly like a pregnant woman.
Despite bizarrely admitting to the teacher that the device gave him an erection, he still received a perfect 30 out of 30 grade.
Really? You got an erection out of that?
So tell me, why do you like Pokemon?
I don't know.
You're not sure why you like it, but you do, right?
Yeah.
In 1996,
I
the
really
first
got
ever
into
entries
Pokemon.
in the Pokemon franchise were released to the Game Boy in Japan and quickly evolved into a pop culture phenomenon. Within the first 2 years of its debut, the franchise received its own trading card game and anime series. And it wasn't long after this merchandising boom that the phenomenon began taking over the West. Due to the series' popularity, in 1998, the Pokemon TV show made its debut in the United States, with the games following soon after. It's
Never
unknown
really got into the
exactly
show.
when Chris discovered Pokemon,
But I got into the
when
games,
he
though,
did, he
especially
immersed
Blue.
himself with the universe almost as deeply as Sonic. At the same time as the Poke craze, Chris was taking Spanish classes in high school, where he often incorporated his love of video games into assignments. In a project dated February 8th, 1999, Chris illustrates his Spanish vocabulary by translating the names of characters from both Sonic the Hedgehog and Pokemon. This would be his earliest known reference to the franchise. It was this same month that Chris Chan would celebrate his 17th birthday. To commemorate, he produced a drawing of his character, Bionic the Hedgehog, holding a flag proclaiming, "I fought my autism, and I won." It was also that day that he would produce Espanolic. This character would later become one of the first entries in his line of original Pokemon cards, eventually amassing enough to
Okay, I didn't know he
create an
drew
entire
Pokemon cards.
Pokedex, which he dubbed the Wall of Originals. Of these homemade cards, standouts include Chikachu, a female Pikachu who can only deal damage when accompanied by a boyfriend, Flashbulb, a flashlight Pokemon, CompuFrog, a frog made from computer code, and of course we can't forget Plotistic, a plant that's on the spectrum. As Chris continued to express his fascination with
I
the
can tell you
Pokemon
something, he draws
franchise,
better
he
than
soon
me.
created the first version of Quick's
I suck at
Pokesite.
drawing.
CWC are the initials of Christian's full name, which he is unusually proud of due to its ability to be pronounced as Quick. This webpage would only last a few months before being replaced in July by Chris's second, more amateurish Pokesite developed entirely in Notepad. Entering his final year of high school, Chris began this last hurrah by writing a short Pokemon fanfiction. Titled How the Pokemon Came Into Our Pokeballs, it was completed for an English assignment asking students to invent their own myth. Unlike his previous writings, his English teacher actually enjoyed this one. Sometime this same year, Chris also began volunteering at the local GMillion as an assistant gym leader for their Pokemon trading card league. His staffing role was captured in a segment by Richmond NBC affiliate WWBT, showcasing him dressed up at the store as Ash Ketchum.
I'll put out my Dragonair, even though it has 60 damage on it. Oh boy. And now it has 3 energy on it. Slam attack.
With the end of the millennia, Christian was the same as he'd ever been. In fact, his obsession with the media was only worsening. He seemingly began showcasing his Pokesite around school, with various teachers and friends signing his guest book. February of his senior year would be an especially productive month for Christian Weston Chandler. That Valentine's Day, he published a poem to commemorate the event, titled Valentine's Day Hymn. While a cheerful celebration of another couple's love, this attitude would not last. Just a few days after this, Chris celebrated his 18th birthday. In attendance were Chris's parents, his stepbrother, and his gal pals from school. One of the only times Chris would interact with them outside of class. He would later reminisce on this being one of the best days of his life. With high school soon coming to a close, this seemed like a great memory to end this chapter of Chris's life on. But it would turn out he still had one more trick up his sleeve. In March, Christian was instructed to create an album cover as an assignment for his computer graphics class. One of the restrictions, however, was that students could not use any copyrighted materials. Given his obsession with pop culture, which bled into everything he produced, Chris struggled with the project's requirement of originality. This was when he had an epiphany. In order to circumvent the copyrights held by Sega and Nintendo, Christian invented Sonichu, a hybrid of the characters Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog. He recalls imagining the character after lunch on that fateful day of March 17th.
I drew Sonichu on paper from imagination. Then I drew him on my currently open Photoshop
That
program.
is a fucking nightmare.
After checking with Miss Chalifo and my father, who is big on copyrights and whatnot, Sonichu was legal then and still is, and only mine. So, soon after, the CD cover was made, printed, and passed with an A+ grade.
Upon this hybrid character's inception, things would never be the same. Now with his own quote-unquote original creation, Sonichu took the forefront of all of his creative endeavors. The next month, he created a Sonichu sweatshirt and gave it to one of his gal pals as a birthday gift. He also began producing dozens of Sonichu variant Pokemon cards. 5 months after this, he even launched a Sonichu site to succeed his Pokesite. And it wasn't long after that, he began drawing short comics featuring his mascot. In May, Chris attended his school's senior prom with his mother. Upon arriving, one of his gal pals saw this and felt sorry for him, so she asked him for a dance.
To be one with my crowd, I bought a pair of tickets, but I went there with my mother. But then I realized I was still an outcast because I stood out more like a lonesome wallflower. But that night, my trusted peppermint patty type gal pal, Tiffany Gowan, asked me to dance with her. I hesitated at first, but she grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the dance floor. We danced for what felt like hours.
In April, the 18-year-old began a self-documentary project for class titled A Week with Christian Chandler. It provides valuable insight to everyday life during those high school
Maybe after that,
years, as he admits to falling asleep in classes on a regular basis. It also notes that he attends several behavioral adjustment programs and proceeds to document several of his creations. Most notable is the City Room, which is an early version of what would later be known as Quickfill. It is a miniature city made from the pieces of Chris's various Lego kits and other memorabilia. It was here that he revealed that his family was moving back to their house in Ruckersville. According to Chris, his parents had failed to sell the home and would have stayed in Richmond had they succeeded. On June 15th, Christian graduated from Manchester High School. In spite of placing on the honor roll, for Chris the celebration was not ceremonious. Before receiving their diplomas, an award ceremony was held to recognize the school's gifted students. Chris became jealous after not being given an award for his art class assignments.
During the early award ceremony, I was a little thrilled to get a star for my grades. But then I find out that I am outshined in my creative skills because those people do not appreciate the time and effort I took into making Sonichu. I was a high-functioning autistic boy who came way beyond out of his social shell, only to get zilch, nada, sip, a big fat zero.
When it came time to actually receive his diploma, Chris went up without making eye contact with anyone, going so far as to slap away the presenter's hand when they reached out for a congratulatory handshake. He then ran off and found a table isolated enough to cry alone. It wasn't simply jealousy that had overwhelmed him that day, but rather the realization he was leaving behind the quote, best circle of friends he ever had. As mentioned before, Chris seldom hung out with his gal pals outside of high school, and the end of his time at Manchester largely meant the end of his social life as he knew it. The high school graduation has since become a point of trauma for Chris, as he felt it marked the end of the best years of his life.
Yeah, now he's gonna be alone. Because a lot of people lose their friends after high school. I don't keep track of my friends after high school. I haven't talked to them in months.
The thing is, what he remembers from his high school years is an extremely romanticized version of events that didn't include the manipulation those around him participated in to help him make it through. He fondly recalls being an honor roll student, though teachers often gave him higher grades than he probably deserved. He liked to see himself as an engaged pupil, though slept through many of his classes. He had friendships, but they always seemed to end when the bell rang. Speaking of friends, let's take for example one of Chris's gal pals from middle school, the girl next door who would often hang out with him at the bus stop and near their home. Chris interpreted their time together as genuine camaraderie, when in fact she had been paid by Bob to essentially babysit him. On top of this, there has been speculation that his father had a meeting with the principal of Manchester High, which resulted in school staff bringing together upstanding girls in Chris's grade to befriend and protect him from the horrors of high school, meaning that the gal pals were also a result of behind-the-scenes meddling by his parents. Perhaps what makes this period of life so mesmerizing to Chris is that it was a time of innocence, when he was still largely getting away with being oblivious to the world. An era where his parents could still feasibly shelter him as he developed an over-reliance on children's entertainment to compensate. And no matter how superficial the relationships were, they still were friendships to him. His gal pals were the one thing standing between Chris and solitude. After high school, as Chris had guessed, he'd lose contact with them, but most could have never guessed how far he would descend into isolation. The weather was dark and rainy that graduation day as the now adult Chris sobbed by himself in his graduation gown. When Barbara and Tiffany found him, they comforted the emotional young man. His father, however, was less forgiving with how his son had behaved. Perhaps he read the writing on the wall then and there and realized the futility of his family's future.
Yeah, the problem, he sheltered him too much.
Now out of high school, Chris finally had the independence that's afforded to adults. With his free time, Chris began volunteering as an assistant Pokemon gym leader at the local Toys R Us trading card club in Charlottesville. According to first-hand accounts, he often attempted to use his homemade Pokemon cards in regular play, which were unbalanced and overpowered. Christian also launched SonicChew.com, though it was largely neglected. His family, now back under the same roof, began attending the newly established Grace Baptist Church, and in August, Chris began his first year at Piedmont, Virginia Community College. He was set to graduate with an associate's degree in 2 years. With all of his high school friends left behind, Chris found solace in his artwork, and that winter crafted his very first, now iconic, SonicChew medallion using Crayola model magic. Originally decorated with a makeshift chain, this was later replaced with a higher quality necklace he'd bought from the mall. The medallion was intended to serve as a name tag, something that would help him stand out in public. And that December, Chris designed a companion character for SonicChew named Rosechew, a rather blatant derivative of the Sonic character Amy Rose. In August of 2001, Christian began working his first and to date only conventional job. He was hired at the local Wendy's, but had a difficult time maintaining this employment, only lasting approximately a month and a half before being fired. Unlike high school, the employees at the fast food chain were critical of him and made their frustrations known in a very patronizing manner. The exact circumstances of which he was fired are unclear, though there are 2 incidents often credited as being the last straw. The first claims that Chris was terminated for drawing a picture of an older female coworker as a Pokemon, which they found deeply offensive. The second excuse that Chris told himself involved his attempts to entertain a little boy with his parents, where he performed an impression of the character Donald Duck. This scared the child, causing him to cry. It's approximated that Chris earned around $500 from his employment at Wendy's. In June of 2002, he stopped volunteering as a Pokemon gym leader at the local Toys R Us, opting to play at the locally owned hobby shop known as the Game Place every Friday. As Chris proceeded through college, he began to appreciate all the moments he'd taken for granted back in high school. In February of 2003, he wrote a fond account of his 18th birthday party, a stark contrast to what would happen on his next birthday only 2 weeks later. That year, on his 21st special day, Chris was reading Peter Robinson's Wednesday's Child for an English class. What made this class memorable was that homosexuality had come up during group discussion, something that Chris thought of as revolting at the time due to his religious beliefs. As a result, he made derogatory comments towards homosexuals, and was promptly told to leave. What exactly was said has never been revealed, but Chris himself described them as, quote-unquote, exclamations you'd likely hear from a black person in church. Given the punishment...
Yeah, back then, Chris was very homophobic. Like, it's hard to explain.
Most surmise his assertions must have been rather severe, and after being told to leave, Chris once again sat by himself and cried. The only difference this time was that there was no one there to comfort him. Whether or not Chris outright quit the class by choice or was forced to leave is unclear, but this would set a bad precedent for the rest of his college career. This incident would mark the beginning of a new saga in Chris's life. One that would lead him not to just be eventually expelled from his college entirely, but to infamy. It was that day, right after he was ejected from English class, that he began his love quest. You see, since he had no one to console him for the first time in his life, it led Chris to realize that he should pursue a romantic relationship, to fill the now empty hole in his emotional support network. But to discover his soulmate, and perhaps even one day bear his child, he had to go back to the drawing board. Throughout April of 2003, Chris began depicting romance using his SonicChew characters. He created the Hedgehogs in Love Pokemon card before quickly succeeding it with the short story SonicChew and Rosechew, the genesis of the Lovehogs. The story ends with SonicChew and Rosechew gazing at the moon before locking eyes and sharing a passionate kiss. But it wasn't until August that his desperation for intimacy began to materialize in the real world. As Chris entered his 4th year at the 2-year community college, he officially began his search for a sweetheart. Rather than ask them out directly though,
I remember
that
this.
month, Chris made his first attraction sign to get the attention of a boyfriend-free girl. On it, the romantically challenged man describes not just himself, but also the qualities he wished for his significant other.
21, and single white male. Shy, smart, young at heart, computer skilled, humorous, a great thinker and go-getter, enjoys good parts of life, diplomatic, peaceful, very creative.
My bad.
Lonely. Seeking a cute 18 to 21 single female companion who is 18 to 21 years of age and does not already have a boyfriend. Average to slender, body type, white, lives in the Charlottesville or Ruckersville area, does not smoke or drink alcohol.
Hell yeah. You don't want to smoke or a drinker. Well, drinking's okay. As long as it's like, for, let's just say, social.
Happy, positive personality, average or high income, drives a vehicle. If any man read this huge sign,
He just wants a chick to, drive him around.
mind your own business. And to all men with girlfriends, except married and blacks, go jump off a cliff.
So he doesn't want a black girlfriend.
Have a nice day.
For the next 2 months, Chris would tape the sign to the wall of the college's lobby, often waiting somewhere beside it. However, his plans would be thwarted when on October 7th, Mary Lee Walsh, the Dean of Student Services, approached him, confiscated his sign, and bluntly told him to stop. Chris interpreted her authoritative command as very violent, claiming she had exclaimed, "You're not allowed to find true love here." Determined, Chris stubbornly created another attraction sign, only for Mary to confiscate it again a few weeks later. This temporarily led Chris to return to venting his frustrations into his art, at least for the next few months. In November, Chris wrote a poem titled "The Saddest Heart in the World."
And with the Backstreet Boys tune, I sing my lonesome croon. Tell me why I'm stuck as a virgin with rage. Tell me why I so need a cute girl my age. Tell me why I ain't ever wanna hear you say I have a boyfriend.
These lyrics would later be used in the song "So Need a Cute Girl," a track from Christian's cover album Christian and the Hedgehog Boys, which he'd begun recording at the end of that summer. This song would later become a massive hit online, with dozens of covers existing across multiple platforms. But regardless of the quality of his Backstreet Boys parody, Mary Lee Walsh still had a sign. So to occupy Chris's time, he began investing all of his effort playing the game Animal Crossing. This would eventually culminate into what's now known as his Animal Crossing documentary, an hour-long showcase of his in-game village. This would become one of Christian's greatest accomplishments, as he submitted it to the Nintendo Power magazine and managed to actually get featured. Some claim it was the first Let's Play ever made, though this is difficult to prove. On January 1st, 2004, Chris wrote in his diary about his New Year's resolution to get a romantic partner.
That's what DSP would do.
Resolution is to get
that's what
myself
DSP
a
did when he
matching
first did his
girlfriend.
Let's Plays.
Rather, it will happen as something else. I plan to try again at PVCC.
And try again he did, with his stubbornness only further escalating the conflict. A few weeks into the new year, he wrote a poem titled Hard Love Quest, in which he once again laments being quote-unquote a virgin with rage. Christian's frustration with his lack of romantic success was ever growing. And this new effort to overcome Mary Lee Walsh at PVCC meant trying new strategies. Instead of restraining himself to just carrying signs, the college student now began repurposing his Sonic June newsletter into a means of attracting boyfriend-free girls. From this point forward,
no one's gonna
every
fall for
newsletter
this
would
shit.
end with a description of his ideal
Just saying.
sweetheart. He includes this disclaimer.
Christian is a very shy and very thoughtful person, and will only accept person-to-person encounters, no emails or phone calls. So if you are interested, he can be found around Piedmont, Virginia Community College or Fashion Square Shopping Center.
In addition to passing around photocopies of his pamphlet, he also began hanging up more attraction signs around school, quickly replacing them whenever torn down. In late January, as Chris stood near his sign per usual, Mary Lee Walsh decided that enough was enough. It was finally time to put an end to his disobedience. According to Chris, she approached him stating that his posters were bothering both her and the student body. Chris responded that he was on his love quest, prompting her to rip the sign from his hands and tear it apart. She then lectured him, stating he would never get a girlfriend this way, before demanding that he stop his behavior immediately. She ended the confrontation by scheduling Chris to attend a meeting to discuss the string of incidents. On February 1st, Chris initiated an email exchange with Miss Walsh, attempting to avoid the meeting through a compromise. He promised her that he wouldn't hang any more signs around campus, so long as she allowed him to continue distributing his newsletter. He also assures that he would move her up his scale of respect by 2 points. About 48 hours later, Miss Walsh would unequivocally deny his request, requiring that they meet the following week. While what exactly occurred during this meeting is uncertain, a few key details are known. At one point, Chris talked with Sonic Chew as if he was real, claiming to Miss Walsh that his character communicated through him. This caused the Dean of Students to talk to Chris quote-unquote rudely and hoarsely. In retaliation, Chris stood up, cupped his hands to his side, and thrusted them forward, miming a powerful beam of energy. He shouted at the top of his lungs his personal variant of a phrase from the anime Dragon Ball Z that he legitimately believed would bring bad luck to the victim. Unsurprisingly, this did little to move Miss Walsh, who declared a ban on not just his attraction sign, but the distribution of his newsletter as well. This enraged Chris to the point where he privately declared war.
Mary Lee Walsh made it illegal to distribute the news dash. I am very angry at that. In response, I plan to incite the masses and hopefully demand the return of the news dash so my chances of getting a girlfriend can be restored.
Adding fuel to the fire was Mary Lee
Chris,
Walsh's attempts to convince Bob and Barbara to remove Chris from the college. Giving them flashbacks to their conflict with Nathaniel Green, they not only refused but became extremely upset. During summer break that year, Chris began exploring more locations to loiter at with his attraction sign. Now dubbing them attraction locations, he began standing at the Charlottesville Fashion Square Mall. This would become the testing ground of a new strategy he'd adopted after watching a lot of anime. Essentially, his plan was to attach a paper heart to a piece of red string, and then throw it at women. He would then reel the string back in, expecting them to follow. Unsurprisingly, in less than a week after conceiving the strategy, his plan was foiled when a mall security guard noticed and confiscated the string from him. This would lead Chris to coin the term jerk cop, later abbreviated to jerk op, to describe store security officers. His next run-in with mall staff would occur 8 weeks
now he
into
switched
his
to Yu-Gi-Oh
This
cards,
was when the same mall security guard from last time approached him, to which Chris pulled out some of his homemade trading cards that told the story of the Lonesome Virgin. He later bragged about intimidating the officer by shouting no directly in his face. Only 5 days later, Chris was approached once again, this time becoming even more belligerent. It escalated to the point of him being detained and forbidden to return from the mall without supervision from his parents. As Chris entered his 5th year...
See, that's the problem. Like, where's the parents in all this? Like, the parents should be supervising him, because like he cannot be out on his own, and that's the problem with him right now. He cannot be out on his own right now, and because of that, he's getting worse and worse.
At PVCC, he still held resentment towards Miss Walsh in spite of his off-campus pursuits. It was around this point Chris left an inflammatory note for the Dean of Students, expressing his dislike for her. Included was an illustration of an intimidating glare. This, as it would turn out, would be his downfall. Taking into account their previous quarrels, the message was interpreted by the school's administration as a form of harassment. After several hearings deliberating on his fate, the administration ultimately decided it'd be best to temporarily suspend Chris from the campus. Enraged by this development, Bob and Barbara decided to incite the masses themselves, allegedly penning a letter to the White House demanding action. Nothing came of their endeavors.
Of course
for the
it wouldn't.
suspension, the criteria for him to return included anger management classes, a psychological evaluation, and social skills counseling. Strangely, it appeared the only reason Chris was upset about his ban was the fact he'd be losing the campus as an attraction zone.
It's been over a week since my suspension. I am depressed, lonely, sad, and bored. I have nowhere to go to attract a boyfriend-free woman. I'll be writing to Santa Claus this year. hoping that he will bring me one.
Whilst all this was going on, Chris became more invested in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, participating in his first tournament at the game place. It was there that he first met Megan Schroeder, an 18-year-old artist who shared many of the same interests as him. They quickly became friends, as she became Chris's first gal pal since leaving high school. Around this time, Chris attended the psychiatric evaluation he was required by PVCC's administration to receive. As of writing, it is the only objective, independent, professional evaluation of Christian as an adult.
Mr. Chandler is a 22-year-old man with a history of developmental delays and autism. Despite these limitations, he seems to have been quite successful in maximizing his academic abilities. Despite his significant delays in language, he has over the years developed relatively effective communication skills. He is left, however, with a severe degree of social awkwardness and seems to have good insight into this. He is left feeling somewhat frustrated as he has a strong desire for companionship, although his social limitations prevent him from being able to realize this in the way in which he would like. He has been on antidepressants for many years, and it is not entirely clear what role they play. Based on the information available at this time, the patient doesn't seem to pose a significant threat to himself or anyone else. There is some suggestion that the anger control has been a problem, although how that has manifested itself is unclear. He certainly has no history of physical violence which would suggest any future risk.
Compared to Christian's state today,
that's far from the truth.
This paints a picture of a man that was still, relatively speaking, at the beginning of his descent. A time when he was more lonely than in high school, but still frequently went outside and had modest social interaction at the game place. It's worth noting that the examiner concluded that Chris should receive further treatment, advice that his parents seemed to ignore. With a tumultuous home life accompanied by years of a society Chris felt he was weighed down by, the self-described virgin with rage decided to yet again pick up his pen. With all he had learned and experienced, it was at this point he would create what is now seen as his magnum opus, the Sonic Chew comics. Not only did this series become his masterpiece, but more importantly brought attention his way. While up until this point he was known only by those in his local vicinity, soon enough a little image board would stumble upon his work, and in the process make internet history, as Christian Weston Chandler becomes possibly the most notable person in the history of the World Wide Web.
Good, feels good. Yeah. Is there anything else? What would you like to do? I mean, you guys like maybe want to go to McDonald's or something like that, or we could hang out in the gazebo, maybe.
Well, it's dark out now, so might not be able to see the gazebo.
That's true.
But I can point out, it's behind the house, and you know where the pen is, the green of the fence, right at that's alongside the road there.
Look how fucking disgusting the house is, bro.
Anyway, you're driving down Westwood,
right?
And you look to your right. You will see a doghouse before you see the pen. The gazebo's behind the doghouse.
Gotcha. Okay. Here we go. We got the gazebo, and then I guess gazebo's over here.
Watch your step. This is your light source. On the light source.
Yes.
They're probably glad they got out of that disgusting house.
All right.
It's a good place to
It's a
hang
very
out
low
here.
gazebo. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you gotta watch your head if you're more than.
So I'm able to stand barely, but at 5'10".
If you're Brad Garrett, you would have to hunch down.
Yeah.
He's like more than 6 feet.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, watch your step.
So Christine, do any of your neighbors know about Chris Chan and everything that goes on online?
Among which, yes.
Have the trolls ever harassed them?
Not that I'm aware of. I pray they haven't.
Where are they gonna go now? The woods?
I'll walk y'all back to your vehicles.
Sounds good.
Wait, are they done interviewing, or are they
back
gonna go somewhere? To be continued. Yeah, so that was the first video. Let's watch the credits. I think this might be the second one.
The pre-existing game it's the same game, but yeah, essentially we're playing a start card in this area. I'm gonna play my house. The start card is essentially the author or centerpiece of the whole fan fiction. Twilight Sparkle is Equestria's most prolific and horrific fanfic author. She ships herself, her friends, and her family together regardless of relation, orientation, or harmonious mane and coat color combination. In order to help fulfill Twilight's dream of writing the perfect fanfic, you take turns expanding the shipping grid, joining new ponies with ship cards. If you are the first to make one of Twilight's narrative goals a reality, you earn the points for that goal. Of course, you also earn the shame of enabling Twilight's horrible penchant of shipping her friends, but nobody's perfect. Goals that we want to achieve on the shipping grid, which in this case
What
we
kind
start
of
off
game
with
is
the
this?
prophecy. We ship any Sonichu with the prime keyword with Chris Chan or Christine Chan.
Probably something that she made up.
Unicorn ships,
or they.
Unicorn on unicorn ships. So
however you guys wanna
there's my daddy.
Pronounce it.
What kind of animal?
He's a Sonichu. Then each player gets 4 ponies and 3 ships. That's their starting hand. Each player plays at least 1 card from your hand at the end of the turn. All pony cards closely shipped, as in, attached with the ship card. You can add a keyword. They cannot be swapped or moved from the grid by card attached to. And all pony cards shipped with that one cannot be discarded from the grid.
His gal pal had a band drawn before beginning work on
that was my bad.
Either moved from the grid by card attached.
Was released.
All right, let's just pass. We'll just skip that.
Using his Sonic Chew character, which he created in high school, Chris began to expand his fictional world, added new characters, and got to work making a comic to tell their stories. And in March of 2005, Sonic Chew number 0 was released onto Chris's website, with the now iconic cover of Christian telling his creation to go out and zap to the extreme. It also boasted that the publication was hand-drawn, a fact that Chris clearly took great pride in. This is because while most webcomics are drawn digitally using a tablet, Chris did not have access to that sort of equipment, forcing him to draw on printer paper with pencils and markers. The art in Sonic Chew was crude and amateurish, which of course became one of its most defining features over time. On top of that, there were frequent spelling and grammatical errors, another staple of his work. Sonic Chew did not tell one story per issue. Instead, each installment was broken up into several smaller tales, referred to as episodes. Episode 1, titled Sonic Chew's Origin, explained how the titular character came to be. As the story went, while fighting the monster Perfect Chaos, Sonic the Hedgehog collided with a nearby Pikachu that was watching the battle, transforming it into Sonic Chew. Meanwhile, a beam of rainbow energy hit a Raichu 15 miles away, causing it to evolve into a new form. The Raichu's trainer,
Bruh, what the fuck is this shit?
a girl named Kel, stated that her Pokemon looked as beautiful as a rose, leading her to choose the name Rosechew. This episode was one of the earliest examples of Chris's poor understanding of copyright law. Despite him having created the Sonic Chew character to claim parody, he still tied his backstory in with intellectual property that he did not own. However, this did not stop Chris from putting his own copyright notice on the comic. At the end of episode 1, Chris took readers on a small tour through his fictional town of Quickville, of which he was the mayor, and introduced them to the cast of characters they would be meeting in future issues. At the very end of this section, Chris introduced himself, where he included the uniquely Chris Chan line, "I am also single, lonely, and I need a girlfriend." Episode 2 was an adaptation of Chris's old story, Genesis of the Love Hogs, telling the tale of Sonic Chew and
Like
Rose
that would
Chew.
help you get a girlfriend, I'm just saying.
meeting each other
Just
and
announce it
falling
in the
love.
fucking
Episode
comic.
3 was titled Sonic Chew vs. Nate Cirque and introduced a new villain for the story, which is Christian's name spelled backwards. He was the son of Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket from Pokemon. Chris portrayed Nate Cirque as being what he felt was the complete opposite of himself, evil and flamboyantly gay. The epilogue of this first issue shows Chris lamenting over the continued failure of his love quest and driving back to the Fashion Square Mall to continue his search for a sweetheart. Strangely, in this encounter, Sonic Chew referred to Chris as his father. Chris also provided the readers with a few short Sonic Chew strips he had drawn before beginning work on the comic proper. These really didn't amount to anything important, but they are notable for being the first appearance of a new villain known as Mary Lee Walsh, who you might remember as the Dean of Student Affairs at Piedmont, Virginia Community College.
Oh god, he has her in the
fictional
fucking
Mary
comics
Lee
too.
Walsh's goal was to keep Chris from completing his love quest, mirroring how her real-life counterpart repeatedly forbade Chris from carrying his attraction sign around the campus, portraying her with a pitchfork and devil horns and ending the comic by obliterating her with his Kamehameha attack. As you can probably already tell, Chris often incorporated his real-life struggles into his work. Another example being Jerk Cop Tastrophe, which involved him hanging around the mall, listening to music on his Nintendo DS, and expressing his frustration over the fact that all the women he wanted to date were already in relationships. As he pondered his unfortunate
Sucks
reality,
for him.
Chris was approached by a jerk cop who berated him for his loneliness. This security guard then brought in reinforcement to handcuff him, but our hero was able to escape by transforming into his new form known as Chris Chan Sonic Chew, using his famous medallion. This appears to be the first ever use of his now famous moniker, Chris Chan. As Mr. Chandler began writing his comic, so too did he continue his love quest at the Fashion Square Mall. Now under
So
the
he went back to the
supervision of
Fashion
his
Square Mall or
parents,
what?
Following prior confrontations with the jerk-ops, he would spend hours pacing around carrying his attraction sign, hoping a girl would approach him. Eventually, Chris did attract the attention of women, though probably not the kind of attention he was hoping for. The first of these ladies was a 19-year-old named Anna McLaren, who detailed her experience with Chris in a blog post titled The Tale of the Crazy Pacer. According to her, she would often see a 20-some-year-old autistic man making his rounds while she was at work, and he would occasionally glance through the window of the store to look at her along with fellow female employees. On a dare, Anna began to wave at Chris as he walked by, which quickly escalated when he entered the store to talk to her. He attempted to flirt, and she responded as politely as she could before the conversation ended with Chris giving Anna his email address.
Bad idea. Don't wave at him.
Despite the circumstances of how they met, the teenager would go on to become one of Chris's longest-running real-life acquaintances after this encounter. The second of Chris's love quest triumphs was a young woman named Hannah in March of 2005. While he was taking a break from his search for a boyfriend-free girl, she reportedly approached Chris and asked him out on a date. This made the autistic man ecstatic, believing that his years of carrying an attraction sign had finally paid off. Of course, he had to tell everybody he knew about this exciting development, and that included his new friend Anna McLaren. However, she knew something Chris didn't. Hannah had no intention of dating him and had merely asked him out as a prank. Chris was shocked by this revelation and immediately went to confirm it with Hannah.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Upon admitting to what she had done, Chris was devastated and loudly yelled, "No!" in the middle of the mall. This disturbance earned Chris yet another temporary ban. These events were retold in his Sonic Chew comic, The Rise and Fall of My Heart. In this version, Anna's role was replaced by Rose Chew, and perhaps more notably, Chris's emotional state was visually portrayed by a heart level. It begins with him at 20%, but when Hannah asks him out, it skyrockets all the way up to 100%. However, when her cruel trick is revealed, it plummets back down to 15%. Throughout many Sonic Chew issues, Chris had drawn ads to replicate the look of a real publication. The most notable of these was the ad for Axe body spray in Sonic Chew number 2. He made no secret about his love for the product, likely buying into its ad campaign that showed its wearers being irresistible to women. Chris states that Axe makes him feel quote-unquote
that's what I think of Axe.
delicious and confident. However, the main concern is found in Sonic Chew and Rose Chew's conversation near the bottom of the page, which seems to imply that Chris believes wearing Axe is a suitable replacement for bathing.
No, it's not.
Rose Chew asking,
you have to bathe, bro. I'm just saying, like, I knew people in high school that did that, and they fucking stank. Like, it's just stank, and Axe just adds to it.
The baffling question, may I orbit your belt? As the Sonic Chew comics continued, Chris introduced his childhood friend Sarah Hammer as a character, as well as her boyfriend at the time, Wes Isley. In the story, the three of them are all given the ability to transform into hedgehog versions of themselves. Chris makes no secret about his jealousy towards Wes, writing him as a villainous character, and another one of his many personal rivals. He dedicates an entire page to a discussion between the two, in which Chris talks about how jealous he felt during an incident in which he saw Sarah sitting on Wes's lap. In this confrontation, Chris portrays himself as very honest and mature, while Wes comes across as cruel and selfish. As you've probably been able to figure out at this point, these episodes were Chris's main way of coping with his problems. Rather than try to learn from his mistakes, he would instead take no personal responsibility, and create his own reality in which he was the victim, and the world was out to get him. Because of this, similar situations of Chris having run-ins with others such as law enforcement would happen over and over, with him seemingly learning nothing each time. However, this eventually came to an end around mid-2005, when Chris's mother Barbara told him to stop adding these personal details to his comics, since she wasn't fond of the idea that their personal life would be shared on the internet. Chris agreed, and decided to officially
He shouldn't even be making these comments in the first place, to be honest with you.
end the autobiographical subsections with
Or at least post them online.
Sonic Chew number 4 in September, a compilation of all the previous personal sections of his work, as well as a few new ones. Funnily enough, Sonic Chew number 4 was released almost 6 months before Sonic Chew number 3. The first of this final batch of real-life reenactments was the two-part story Mick Attack, in which Chris had been kicked out of a McDonald's for loitering, allegedly once again trying to do his old attraction sign trick. In true Chris Chan fashion, this retelling portrays the managers as aggressors while Chris is simply an innocent victim. By most angles, Mick Attack is fairly standard as far as early Sonic Chew goes. However, there is one element that makes it stand out. About halfway through the story, Chris summons his twin sister Crystal to help him in the battle. Of all the bizarre creations that were spawned in the Sonic Chew universe, Crystal ranks amongst the strangest, and her inclusion in the story confused many. You see, most of his characters have a real-life counterpart, but Chris didn't have a sister. Many theorize that Crystal represented a female version of Chris, since in Mick Attack, Crystal stands up to the Manijerks who are harassing him. Sonic Chew number 4 concludes with the story of Off Target. This was
Then, what happens? He turns into Christine.
Chris's dramatic retelling of a real-life incident that happened in July, in which he was once again confronted by jerk-ops while carrying around his attraction sign, but this time in Target. Unlike most of the other events of this nature, things quickly escalated to the point of the police being called. Chris ended up getting arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing, although these charges were dropped after 2 court hearings. Nonetheless, this event
So he's actually going to court for this shit
traumatized
now.
the entire Chandler family. Despite his mother's wishes, Chris continued to write about his real life frequently in his comics, though just not as on the nose as before. Sonic Chew number 5 focused once again on Chris and his never-ending love quest, containing the story of the recent wedding of Sarah Hammer to a man named William Spicer. While it's laid out in rather confusing terms, the dialogue in this episode states that Chris is only attending the wedding in spirit, implying that he was not invited. However, an image does exist of Chris and Sarah posing with her wearing a veil. seemingly meaning that, even if he was not at the wedding, he saw her shortly before or afterward. While obviously nothing can be said for certain, Chris seems happy for Sarah in the picture, and that is reflected in the comic. The story is actually fairly
too bad that
mature
wasn't
by Chris's
Chris getting married.
standards, as he lets go of his crush and accepts that they will not end up together. Upon this issue's release, it seems that Christian was actually making progress, although that may be due to the fact he had his sights set on a new potential sweetheart. As one door closed, another seemed to be opening, as the comic ends with Chris catching the bouquet as Sarah throws it, traditionally meaning he will be the next to get married. Coincidentally, in this story, Chris also introduced a new character, Sailor Megatoon. And in the very beginning of the comic, he credits her creation to his friend, Megan Schroeder.
Oh god. Here we go. Megan Schroeder.
Hello, my name is Christian Weston Chandler of Ruckersville, Virginia. What would you do for a PS3? What I would do for a PS3? I tell you what I do. Well, if I had the money, I'd wait in line, like all the other people did with their tents and all that good stuff. I'd throw away the cure for autism if I had it.
As briefly mentioned in the previous episode, Chris met a woman named Megan a few years prior at the game place, but he appeared to have recently been making efforts to grow their friendship into something more. Since the young woman was a fan of Sailor Moon and My Little Pony, Chris decided to get into those franchises as well. For this brief moment in time, it seemed like Chris was actually evolving as a person, accepting that his previous crush had moved on, and began taking a genuine interest in his new potential sweetheart's hobbies. But unfortunately, this would not last. The 20-some-year-old man went overboard and started spending copious amounts of money on toys and merchandise for Megan's favorite IPs. Unrelated, he also began buying adult DVDs and toys, including a blow-up doll. It's important to keep in mind that at this point, Chris was unemployed.
You have to wonder if he actually fucked that blow-up doll. I have to sneeze, hold on. Yeah, he definitely fucked that blow-up doll. I'm just saying.
With his only source of income coming from monthly social security payments. During this time, Megan was fully aware of Chris's interest in her. He would reportedly often try to touch her without consent, a problem she would bring up in an email to Chris.
One more thing. Please minimize your touchiness. You know well I dislike it, and I keep reminding you. Understand, I'm not angry, but annoyed and a bit disappointed. I remember you said you'd never do it again, and yet, I know you're just being friendly and all, but I really hate being touched. By anyone.
The young lady was clearly trying to nip this crush in the bud, but Christopher would not listen. This would of course eventually blow up in his face. But Chris had a few more heartbreaks to go through before that happened. On June 27th, 2006, Chris's beloved dog Patty tragically passed away. She was quite old, as the canine had joined the Chandler family all the way back in 1992, and her worsening health problems made them finally decide it was time to put her out of her misery. In Chris's eulogy for
That's sad. I would hate the day when my dog goes.
his pet, he stated that he was the one who signed the paper authorizing the vet to put Patty to sleep, in order to spare his mother the burden.
I raised Patty since she was a 6-week-old pup, and I wanted to take the strain for signing the one-way ticket. It was hard for me, but it was for the best. So I signed that paper with a crying sonotube face saying, "We love you, Patty." After that, I gave her my final pets, hug, hand to paw hold, eye contact, ear rub, cheek to fur rub, and I sadly waved her for the last time. And I said, "Goodbye, Patty. I love you."
After a small funeral, Patty Chandler was buried in the backyard, underneath the doghouse that had been her home for so many years. Chris's eulogy may have been the most heartfelt thing he had ever written. They had essentially grown up together, and an argument could have been made that Patty was the closest and most long-lasting friendship Chris ever had. In February of 2007, Sonic Chew number 6 was released, containing the episode One Lucky Dog. It tells the story of Patty eating some magical grass and transforming into a talking anthropomorphic dog/human hybrid. Upon discovering this, Chris takes Patty into his bedroom, where he reveals that he had a portal to his fictional town of Quickville hidden within the closet. He takes his old dog through the portal and tells her she can now live in this reality for the rest of eternity. This was the first time Chris portrayed Quickville as something of a religious afterlife. On February 25th, 2007, Christian celebrated his 25th birthday at his preferred hangouts, the Game Place, surrounded by his friends and family. Also at this event, he officially released a DVD he had been working on titled, Yep, I'm on TV. This was a compilation of all of Chris's home movies and television appearances, as well as the photos he had taken over the years. Chris also recorded a video intended to bestow advice to younger people, based on the wisdom he'd learned in his quarter century on Earth, providing a very good point of reference for his mindset at the time.
That while you're playing with these things, you should keep in mind of what your true original gender is. Because it's like you're learning about that girl you want to take on a date, young man. Or likewise, you feel more comfortable to approach that boy just saying hello that you've been checking out from a distance, young lady. And hopefully in due time or now, each and every one of you will stay straight. You know, girl for boy, boy for girl. Everything else is vice, as said by Dr. Kinsey.
Despite the fact that Chris did not intend to distribute his DVD publicly, he still wanted another outlet to share more of his creative work with the world. So in May of 2007, he created an account on the burgeoning platform of YouTube and named his channel Sonic Chew.
Holy shit, bro. Look, that looks so old. Damn, I remember when YouTube looked like that. Look at this. You can actually send messages to people back then. You can add a comment directly on the channel, share channel, which is, you could actually do that. You could probably do that now. And you can add people as a friend on YouTube back then.
His first upload to the site was a video about the game Soul Calibur. This video depicted a fight between Chris and Mary Lee Walsh, using customized characters from the game, where of course he comes out victorious. By his standards, this video was relatively harmless, but the creation of a YouTube channel would go on to become perhaps one of the greatest mistakes Chris ever made, as things would quickly spiral out of control.
Ribbit, ribbit, I cannot hold it, the last little toilet, I already sold it, ribbit, ribbit, in the rain or in the snow, I got the funky flow, but now I really gotta go, in the rain or in the snow.
In the rain or in the snow, I got the funky flow.
Parappa the Rapper, great new music video game.
In the rain or in the snow.
Once you played it, you can't get it out of your head.
In June of 2007, Sony announced Parappa the Rapper Chop Chop Master Onion's Rap Showdown, a contest in which participants were required to recreate a song from the PlayStation franchise for a chance to win 2 PSP game systems. The only rules were that contestants were not allowed to change the lyrics or use backing tracks in their entries. Upon learning of this contest, Chris decided that he absolutely had to win. With this, the novice YouTuber began formulating a plan to give one of the PSPs to Megan, and he would then take her on the trip to PAX West, where she would surely fall in love with him. Chris quickly got to work making a video to guarantee him a win in the contest. As you may expect from Chris's usual standards though, it didn't turn out very well. First of all, the entry was filmed using his PSI, a cheap camera attachment for the PlayStation 3. Secondly, the entry is full of nonsensical and jarring effects taken from Sony's built-in editing software, most likely in an attempt to make the video look more professional. On top of all this, Chris clearly did not actually memorize the lyrics to the song, as he frequently stumbled over the words and looked off camera to read them. He also technically broke the rules by changing the lyrics, as he began the video rapping about his plan to make Megan fall in love with him. Miraculously, or more likely due to the fact that very few people entered the contest, Chris's entry made it to the final 10 and became eligible for public voting. This would be the start of an aggressive marketing campaign, as he tried to win through any means necessary. He began posting ads to his website encouraging the readers of Sonic Chew to vote for him. He also started handing out flyers to patrons at the game place in order to earn more votes. In addition, Chris also began emailing all of his old acquaintances asking for help. These included old gal pals and teachers from high school, and strangest of them all, his estranged half-brother Cole Smithy, who he had not spoken to in years. Surprisingly enough, he did respond to Chris's request, agreeing to vote for him on one condition.
I'll make a deal with you. You find out the identity of my real father from Barbara and email me the person's name, and I will vote for you in your effort to travel to Seattle. Deal?
If you couldn't tell, Cole's relationship with his mother Barbara was strained. He alleges to have been the victim of severe mental and physical abuse throughout his childhood by his mom, as well as Bob and her former husband, Jerry Harmon. Cole also believed Barbara was lying to him about the identity of his biological father. She claimed his dad was a man named Jack Dale Smithy, but Cole insisted it to be a different old flame of hers, Ran Coleman Yeats. Suffice to say, Chris never followed through on asking Barbara about Cole's father. Despite all of the vigorous campaigning he had done, Christian still decided he needed to do more in order to increase his chances of victory. This competition was far too important in his mind, so he chose to turn to less than admirable tactics. This is when he began to create several email addresses in order to stuff the ballots, voting as many times
So now
as
he's
he
faking the
possibly
ballots.
could for his entry, even making a fake account in order to leave a review for his video, in which he refers to Megan as his girlfriend.
Such honesty of his situation and the devotion for his lucky girlfriend adds great emotion.
Dude, I love the picture that they use when he does the voice acting.
To his performance. The visually appealing FX added the best humor and biggest laugh I had among the bunch. I enjoyed the fun background to his assumed to be bedroom, and his informative feedback on playing Guitar Hero on PlayStation 3. Also, he has nailed the lyrics a cappella. As the brave autistic warrior so creatively put it at the end, rap, 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 that's a rap.
After doing everything in his power to ensure victory, Chris waited anxiously for the final results of the contest to be released. On August 3rd, the self-proclaimed autistic warrior logged onto the website excitedly, only to be crushed upon realizing he had lost to a man named Adam Stackhouse. As you can probably imagine, Chris did not concede defeat gracefully. He began posting.
Damn, after all that, he still lost. Dude, he can never win.
Incessantly on the PlayStation message boards and emailing Sony directly about how he should have won. He angrily pointed out Adam's use of an a cappella beat in the video, which he believed to be a violation of the contest rules regarding backing tracks. However, this ultimately amounted to nothing, as Sony ignored his emails and his tantrum resulted in a ban from the PlayStation forum. Chris also emailed Megan after his big loss, cursing Adam Stackhouse and lamenting the fact that he would not be able to take her to PAX West. This was apparently the final straw for Megan, who had been trying to tell Chris for months that he had no chance with her romantically. She sent a heated email back, berating him for ignoring her countless requests for him to stop trying to date her.
Christian, I haven't been checking my email until recently, and I just want to say that your behavior has irritated me for the last time. First, I'll start off with saying that I'm glad you didn't win the contest, because I have no interest in going on a trip alone with someone who can't keep his hands off me. I'm not your girlfriend, and I never will be. When I say, don't touch me, that means don't touch me. What may seem friendly to you is sexual harassment to me. You whine that you're just being friendly, but you obviously have no consideration for my feelings. And I don't like your Megan obsession. I don't like being a character in your comics. I don't like how you made me a character in Soul Calibur and Animal Crossing. That kind of behavior really freaks me out.
The week's events were a massive blow to Christian's ego. Not only did he lose the contest, but also the woman that he loved.
Yeah, you don't go around doing that shit. Like, unfortunately, like, he doesn't seem to understand it. And his parents are kind of like not helping him, let's just say. And I believe his parents needed to step in and help him with all this shit. And unfortunately, his life went keep going downhill because of that. So
at this moment, it seemed like things hit rock bottom, as the mirage of a future Chris had planned blew up in front of his eyes. But unfortunately, it would soon turn out that this was only the start of his problems. Because the thing is, these new antics on YouTube piqued the interest of an online community that would soon propel our protagonist into the spotlight.
And that is how angry I am at Adam Stackhouse, Aperluski, Rudell, and Surya Butchwald. They should have been disqualified because they had music and more than one person in their Freakazoid videos.
With Chris starting to bring his strange and self-destructive behavior onto social media sites, it was only a matter of time before people took notice, and that day arrived on October 26 of 2007. This is when photos of Chris playing the Pokemon trading card game at the game place were posted onto a little image board known as 4chan. At the same time, discussions of him began on the Something Awful forums, prompted by a user who had witnessed Chris's pursuit of true love in real life. His multiple public outbursts and unique worldview made him impossible to ignore, and he was quickly becoming a favorite topic of discussion across the web. Despite the internet's instant fascination with Chris Chan, there were some people who theorized this was all just an elaborate troll. As a result, someone decided to go right to the source and find out for themselves. On November 3rd, Chris received an email containing fan art people had made of him and his characters. Among these was a drawing of Chris sitting at a desk labeled Girlfriend Auditions, with a sign which reads, "No Darkies." He also included a few pornographic images, including a comic of Chris having a sexual encounter with Sonichu and a drawing of Sonichu pleasuring himself. It didn't take long for Chris to respond.
I am feeling great detest towards the other two. Sonichu and I are not of that nature at all. If you would like to make it up to me, though, please draw a strip of Rosechu stripping for Sonichu. I am
Dude, that's
straight,
worse.
damn it. I will not be veered in any other disgustingly grotesque direction.
The sender quickly apologized for the art and sent Chris the comic he had requested of an intimate moment between Sonichu and Rosechu. The one catch was that in this picture he chose to depict Rosechu with a penis rather than female genitalia. Chris may have been upset before, but this drove him completely over the edge.
Rosechu is a girl. She never had a frickin' pickle. If I
She
see
never
one
had a
more
pickle.
frickin' pickle, and you may spread this quote to other adult fan artists, I will create you in Soul Calibur 3 and beat you up like there's no tomorrow.
If there was anyone who remained unconvinced as to whether Chris was legitimate, this response was what finally made the trolls realize they had struck gold. Shortly thereafter, a man named Jason Kendrick Howell created a page about Chris on Encyclopedia Dramatica, a wiki dedicated to the discussion and mockery of strange internet figures. Chris now had the kind of undivided attention that most people would do their best to avoid. He would need to choose his next moves carefully if he wanted the trolls to go away. Unfortunately, he did not do that. A few days later, Chris posted a video directed at the users of Encyclopedia Dramatica, although he quickly detoured from the original topic and began rambling to the camera about his life. He talked about his supposedly proud lineage, bringing up his Cherokee ancestors, as well as the fact that he was descended from Anne Boleyn and some travelers on the Mayflower. He also discussed his various hardships throughout life, such as his early schooling and his inability to find a girlfriend. It's unclear what Chris hoped to gain from this. Perhaps he wanted sympathy, or maybe he thought this information would make the trolls respect him. He concluded by requesting that the ED page of him be taken down, or at least edited to portray him in a more flattering light. Not only did this
that's ever
request
gonna
not
happen.
stop the deluge of trolls, but it only furthered the negative attention coming his way. People continued making fun of Christian and posting to the Encyclopedia Dramatica page, much to his frustration. Things hit a boiling point only a couple days later when an old graphic internet shock image known as Goatsy was uploaded to his wiki entry with the caption, "The true brains behind Chris Chan." This sent Chris into a fit of rage, as he went to his ED page and began editing it as he saw fit. Bizarrely, many of Chris's edits revealed a lot of embarrassing information about him that had previously been unknown to his detractors, such as the fact that he used a blow-up doll, and how he truly believed his Sonic Chew medallion gave him special powers. Chris concluded his session by uploading a number of pornographic drawings he made in an attempt to prove his heterosexuality. Most of these were just pictures of his hedgehog characters, but there were a couple particularly shocking ones that stood out from the rest. Namely, these were a naked drawing of Mary Lee Walsh and a picture of Chris pleasuring an unidentified girl while giving a thumbs up to the viewer, later named She Came for Quick. At first, many of the trolls believed the girl in the drawing to be Chris's fictional sister, Crystal, based on their similar appearance. A few jokes were made about it, and things continued like this for months. Eventually, though, someone would come along and recognize the true identity of the girl in the drawing, taking the entire situation from bad to worse. This occurred in March of 2008, when Megan discovered the She Came for Quick drawing, and was immediately horrified, recognizing the girl as herself. She immediately emailed Chris, stating her disgust with what he had drawn, and requesting that he remove all mentions of her from the internet. Chris soon responded, apparently misinterpreting what had upset her about the drawing. He seemed to believe that her shock came not from seeing such a vulgar image of herself, but instead from her lack of sexual experience. He decided to offer her some resources she could use to better educate herself, which included recommending she watch The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Despite not fully understanding what he did wrong, Chris did make some effort to honor Megan's wishes, and he began deleting everything he could about her from the ED page. The thing is, he didn't delete the original graphic artwork that started the drama, choosing instead to simply zoom in on the image so Megan's face was no longer visible. Unsurprisingly, she was not pleased with this fix, once again emailing
that's gonna help anything.
Chris, baffled as to why he didn't just delete it. She scolded him for selfishness and tried to get him to change his mindset where he believed the world was out to get him. Once again, clearly misreading the situation, Chris's response to this only served to dig his hole deeper.
Megan, I am sorry for uploading the drawing, and I really wish I could go back in time and stop myself from making the mistake. Yet I do not regret drawing the drawing, because if I hadn't released my frustrations in this creative sense, I might actually have done something really dumb and stupid.
It's unclear what Chris meant by this, but the sinister implication.
So what I got out of that is if he didn't make that drawing, he would have done something far worse, like go as far as like sexual assault or something of that nature. And that's horrible. And I'm going to keep repeating this. Is like, where's the parents in all this? Like, they don't seem to care about Chris and all this shit.
Were enough to cause Megan to finally cut ties entirely. This event was devastating to Chris, as he had several self-destructive outbursts over the following weeks. It started when he yet again edited the Encyclopedia Dramatica page, berating himself and stating that he was a loser. In doing this, he also accidentally publicly revealed that the girl in She Came for Quick was Megan. Chris also uploaded an image gallery called You Know What? I Hate Myself Too, filled with panels from his comic showing his character getting beaten up or humiliated. As this self-destructive streak continued, it eventually bled out from the internet into Chris's real life. Grace Baptist Church, Chris's regular congregation, discovered his online activity and quickly shunned him. He also received a 2-week suspension from the game place, although following further outbursts, it became permanent. In many people's opinion, this was the real turning point when Chris became Chris Chan. His gal pal had abandoned him, his church had rejected him, and his favorite hangout spot had banned him. In just a few short weeks, a large portion of Chris's life had been ripped away, all due to his poor behavior. The only place he could turn to for attention now was the internet, because even if they were abusive, at the very least, they would talk to him.
Damn.
To the one called Jason Kendrick Howe, for he is, and I quote, in a...
So I'm going to stop the video here. My butt is sore, and for the remainder of the stream, I'm gonna probably stream some Last Judgment for a good hour or so. Hope you guys don't mind. Let's see, gameplay. PC gaming. Huh. Okay, apparently I don't have it. Hold on. Let's see, video capture device. Elgato 4K. Boom. All right, there we go. And what else do I need? Oh, I need my webcam too. Video capture device. Boom. All right. I'm gonna put that above gaming, and we're gonna lower that like right there. Cool, cool. All right. The volume might be a little loud, so I'm gonna be adjusting the volume. Yeah, give it a second. There we go. So I started on this DLC last night. Like I said, I started on this DLC last night. I am playing on hard mode to see how Yakuza games in hard mode is actually like. So I'm gonna see how it actually plays. So far it's actually normal mode in a Yakuza game nowadays is like super easy. Like I'm having an easy time with it. But in hard mode, like so far it feels really challenging.
Something stinks.
So So I'm gonna go here.
Oh my gosh, was someone murdered?
Dunno. Could have been a Yakuza, maybe.
But I thought the Tojo clan was long gone.
Yeah, me too. Wait, they're all gone. Oh no, they're here. All right, let's go inside. Ooh, she's back.
Kaito-san, come join us. You by yourself?
Yeah. Talk's out of town helping Gendo-sensei. Says he'll be gone another couple days.
Uh-huh. So is the sidekick getting lonely without the leading man?
In your dreams, Mari. Masuda, the usual.
I hope the volume's okay.
You see any shit going down outside? I overheard someone talking about a murder.
Ah, that. Apparently, the victim was a young executive. Actually, there was a similar case a few days ago. It caused quite a stir. I believe the man was a CEO.
Some killers out to eat the rich, huh?
Who knows? Crazy world out there. Speaking of which, did you finish the job I found you?
Oh, I kicked the crap out of those swindlers. And Hoshino-kun put on quite the show.
Really? I wish I could have seen the pros at work.
Hell yeah.
You know what else? I think Hoshino-kun and Saori-san are just about there. Fella was all riled up, saying this'll be the year.
By that, you mean they're tying the knot?
Yeah. The question is, will Saori-san give him a yes?
I'd say she needs more time. If he rushes it, it might not turn out well.
Yeah, I suppose your gut's usually right, Mari.
What about you, Kaito-san? Any romance blooming in your life?
With him, probably not.
Whoa! Since when was this about me?
Because you clearly have no trouble talking to women, but I never hear what happens in the end.
What happens in the end is rejection.
Yeah? Well, maybe I like being a free agent. You call it rejection. I call it release. And even if I do keep getting shot down, so what? Every beauty who walks away is only making room for the next one.
Oh, Kaito-san, you're gonna grow into a lonely old man at this rate.
Honestly, Mari, that's all talk. Once Kaito-san falls in love, he falls so hard he can't even see straight. Why, I recall a time he even considered getting married.
You're kidding! Kaito-san, a husband?
Wait a minute.
We not go there.
Shoot, her name was on the tip of my tongue. I suppose it's been over a decade now. You two were living together, right? I think her name...
Masuda, look, that's a long story. Some other time, okay?
Hmm? Oh. Sure thing.
Wait, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Got any more gigs? We've been dry thanks to those fake detectives, so if you could hook it up.
Actually, that reminds me. A man came by asking about you. He said he was looking for someone.
He wanted me? Specifically?
I don't know the details, but he wants to meet you. He's the CEO of some tech company.
Oh, a tech company, eh? What's the offer?
He said he's prepared to pay $2 million up front.
Wait, what?
$2 million? Well, that's mighty generous.
Apparently, it's for any investigation expenses that come up. And when it's done, he'll pay an extra $20 million.
That sounds fishy.
20 million?
Depending on the outcome, he might pay even more. He must be swimming in cash.
Holy hell.
Sounds like a tempting offer, but do you really want to do it alone? especially with your boss out of town.
True. One look at you and the client might drop the case and run.
Yeah, true.
Right? At least find a smart-looking jacket to cover whatever that is.
Indeed. You'll need to dress for the occasion, that's for sure.
Man, you guys have no faith in me, huh? Well, I'm not putting on a show for him or anyone else. True style doesn't change with the tides. Not to mention, it's the heart that counts. Watch me knock this guy's socks off, just being plain old Kaito.
This is gonna go poorly. Wait, what? No fucking way.
This tea's about to expire. Hey, Banaki, what's with the suit and tie?
What? I thought I'd pull out all the stops for today's client. Dress for the occasion and all that. After all, a pro's gotta look the part too.
I mean, yeah. You never give a rat's ass about that stuff. So I start now.
Today's just special, all right? Oh, there.
Bro, he's just fidgeting now.
But do you really need me here?
Yeah.
Don't you get it? If I'm busy talking this guy up, who's gonna offer some tea? The landlady? Besides, you poured in the Matsugane family for years. The boss loved your tea, remember?
Whoa, hang on. That was a long time ago.
Well, I'm counting on you today. I'm paying you $50,000 just to serve 2 people.
Coming from you, that's pretty generous. How much is this gig worth, anyway?
That's a matter of, detective-client privilege. Hey, he's here. Come in.
Hello there. I'm Kyoya Sadamoto, CEO of Image Interactive. Thanks for having me.
I'm not gonna even bother pronouncing his name.
Thanks for coming. I'm Masaharu Kaito, an investigator here.
I'm Higashi, just a part-timer.
It really is great to meet you, Kaito-san. I've heard so much about you.
Good things, I hope?
Of course. You're a legend in these parts, aren't you?
Not so sure about that. Oh, but first, please, take a seat.
Enjoy.
Why, thank you.
Well then, shall we get down to business? I understand you're looking for someone. May I ask who?
That would be my wife. My deceased wife, actually.
What?
Your deceased wife.
Pretty weird, right?
Can you give me some more details? I was under the impression she went missing.
Well, I lost her about 2 years ago. She took her own life.
I see. I'm very sorry. Let me rephrase then. You want us to find her, even though you know she passed away?
Yes, well... Why don't I start from the time she died? 2 years ago, my wife left a suicide note at home one day and disappeared. As you can imagine, I went right to the police. But upon finding nothing, she was declared a missing person. 6 months later, they recovered a body, possibly my wife's, on a riverbed in the mountains of Chiba. There's a large waterfall nearby, from which she likely jumped. Her body was decomposed beyond recognition, but authorities later identified her based on something she was carrying.
And what was that?
A photograph. In it was her and our son.
I see. But was that really enough to ID her? Wouldn't they have done some sort of analysis?
Yes. I requested a DNA test be performed. Lo and behold, my wife was a near-perfect match.
Then, at that point, her death was all but certain. Yet, you still believe she's alive?
About a month ago, my wife's friend said she saw someone in Kamurocho that looked like her. This woman, according to my wife's friend, was with some unfamiliar man. And when the friend called out her name, she froze. Then she immediately fled.
Damn.
Is it possible this was all just a coincidence?
Believe me, I'd considered that. The DNA test had more or less cemented her death.
So for whoever is joining the stream, I watched 1.5 videos about Chris Chan, and now I'm just playing a game to pass the time.
In my mind. But then I started doing my own research, and I found that DNA test results aren't always set in stone. Especially in cases where the body's in an advanced state of decomposition, the results can vary widely. I even came across an astonishing article in which someone's lost relative showed up after a DNA test said they died. After reading that, who wouldn't have hoped that their dear wife is still somewhere out there? Mind you, this woman was the spitting image of my wife. Her voice was a perfect match too. And this is coming from a friend who's known her for years. As she herself put it, there's no way it wasn't her.
If I could inquire about the compensation. My contact at Tender quoted 2 million in advance, plus another 20 million upon completion.
Yes. Regardless of the outcome, I intend to have at least that much prepared.
When you say at least that much, you mean...
If you manage to find my wife safe and sound, I'll throw in another 10 million.
So, a grand total of 32 million?
Hey, Aniki. Just checking. I'm being paid 50,000 today, right?
Yeah, 50,000 for serving some damn tea. Got a problem?
Oh no, it's fine. Now I see where all that generosity is coming from.
Oh man, this is getting crazy.
By the way, may we request any photos of your wife you may have? Sir?
I've actually approached other detectives about this, but none of them could turn up any leads. Then I heard you were working as a detective, in Kamurocho no less. Immediately I thought to myself, if anyone can find my wife, it's him. Considering how well acquainted you are.
Huh? You saying I know her?
Wait a minute, what?
Oh. Aniki, isn't that...
Mikiko?
Yes. Mikiko Natsume was her maiden name. I understand you used to live together long ago. And that sums up why I'm here, because of how intimately you know her.
You're really going to go?
After what they did to the boss, I can't just sit back and do nothing.
But you might actually get killed this time.
I'm sorry.
So your family is more important than me.
That's how the Yakuza works.
Believe me, I understand how bizarre this request might be. But I know you can get to the bottom of it. You lived with Mikiko in this very town. You knew her better than anyone. Kaito-san, I'm begging you. Won't you bring her back?
I'd heard rumors, but I never thought they'd be true. Sadamoto-san, are you sure Mikiko took her own life?
I mean, she did leave a suicide note.
Why, though? The Mikiko I knew would never do that, no matter what the reason.
Honestly, I wish I knew. The note was sparse on details.
The hell does that mean? Aren't you supposed to be her husband?
For what my memory's worth, Mikiko seemed to have some anxieties about her job. And I was so busy with my own work at the time, I failed to give her support. I was hardly even home half the time. It was only when she left me that I realized how poorly I treated her.
So, let's say Mikiko is alive. Then what? It's gonna be one big happy reunion?
I don't really have an answer for that. I doubt she'd even want to look at me. But then again, we do have our son to consider. He's 14 already. His name's June.
So, Mikiko's got a kid and everything.
Yes.
A happy family.
He's just as rambunctious as his mother. He took off once he heard she might be alive. Even though I specifically told him to stay put. The moment my back was turned, he was gone.
Wait, he ran away?
He did. About 2 weeks ago. I thought he might pull something like this, so I set up location tracking on his phone. But, being that he left his phone in his room, he must have figured that out. Outsmarted by a teenager, I swear.
2 weeks? On his own at his age? At 14, he's what, in middle school?
June pulls this kind of stunt all the time.
Wouldn't he
Hangs
be
out
in
with
high
these
school?
Delinquents, often couch surfing for days at a time. Of course, I want to talk. Since most days, I missed the last train. And since I'm at a hotel, I won't even be home to notice he's gone.
Well, how about that?
Look, that's all beside the point. Right now, I need your help.
Hate to break it to you, Sadamoto-san, but I don't think I'm your guy.
What? May I ask how come?
I just don't think I'm cut out for it, is all.
Come now.
That's final.
Fine. Fine. I know when a mind's made up. What a shame that is.
Aniki, you sure you want to let this guy go? That's 32 mil walking away. Not to mention the truth about Mikiko.
I know what I'm doing.
Okay, you're the boss.
Well, another job down the shitter. I think
Yeah,
that
but
calls
that's your
for a
fault, though.
drink.
You, want somebody to tag along?
Sure, but weren't you slammed with the new opening and all?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's work to be done. I'd have to go inspect the place after.
Right. Then you better go deal with that. Glad to hear business is good, though.
Sorry about that, Aniki.
Oh, and about that 50 grand I owe you.
Don't even worry about it. Tea was on the house today, man. When my Aniki says pour, I serve the best damn cup you ever tried. That shit hasn't changed.
Oh, Higashi. You wonderful bastard.
Huh? Hey, Aniki, that photo.
Damn it. Don't just leave your junk in my office.
Bro, keep the photo.
Should I just toss it? Well, wouldn't be the first gig I tossed. Better head on down to Tender and see what else Masuda's got brewing.
Ooh, episode 1. Oh, chapter 1. I just got done playing Like a Dragon again for the 6th time. So, they call it episodes. Okay, I got my health back. How much skill points do I got? I got 3k, huh? Let's see. Oh yeah, that would help me in this situation. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna go back to Tinder. Or back to Tender. I always call Tinder for some reason. So
Something stinks.
are they still gonna have the crowd for the murder scene? Hold on. Oh.
Yaniki, you got a minute?
What's up, Higashi?
Yeah, so I just got a call from Charles. Remember how I told you about that kid who came by looking for you?
Yeah? What about him?
Well, he's back and causing problems like usual. Can you go take care of him?
He's just some punk-ass kid. Why don't you take care of him?
Because I got meetings and shit to deal with. My employee's in there on her own.
I really gotta handle some kid?
What, you just gonna abandon a college girl in trouble?
Huh? Oh, I see. You almost got me with that one, dipshit.
You think I'd lie to you? Seriously, she's young, she's single. Cute, too.
Wow, okay.
Sure about that?
Yep. Oh, did I mention she's way into beards? She says she likes them bearded and burly.
Guess I have no choice. If a lady, if my bro needs my help, I guess I gotta go save the day.
You're a lifesaver, Aniki. I'm counting on you here.
All right, we're gonna go to Charles. Lucky for you. Is there a block button in this game? Oh yeah, there is a block button. I forgot the moves. There we go. Okay. Yeah, last night when I was playing, I was kind of playing at like 4 in the morning. So I was kind of like playing in zombie mode. I was taking a lot of damage. So I'm gonna pick some fights to get used to this game again. Alright, let's go. Get your ass over here. Damn. There we go.
That's all you got?
Yeah, whatever. Telling me how to use a map in a story expansion for a franchise that I played for years. But I did forget the block button. Oh, fuck off, bro. It's the only way I know for now how to get a block person.
Don't go picking fights you can't win.
Alright. We're gonna go meet this hot single lady. Okay, so the fish place is not open. We're gonna go down to Charles.
Not messing around!
I'll kill you, you little whip! Damn. Talk about a shit show. You can relax now, miss. I'm taking over from here.
Are you Yakuza?
No, actually, I was sent by the owner, Higashi. What's going on here?
Oh, well, those men were being disgusting, but then that boy stood up for me.
I'd rather be a wimp than a total piece of shit, not to mention an ugly one.
Say that again, you brat!
Too slow, dumbass!
That's it. I'm carving you up!
Uh-oh.
Step back, bud. Hey, I said step back. You don't want to get hurt, do ya?
Okay.
Hold up. Did you just pass out on me? Hey, miss. Mind getting this kid out of the way?
Okay.
Ah, you taking his place, ape man? Then I'll just have to carve you up first!
Alright, here we go.
Here we go.
Let's see. Wow. Oh, I love this style right here. Holy shit. Shit. Fuck yeah. Damn, son.
asses outside.
Damn it!
Hey, up and at 'em.
Huh?
Listen, you're a good kid for helping people, but taking on two grown-ass men is another story.
Wait.
Hey, you alright? Hit your head or something? What? Do I know you? Or,
Holy crap! It's you! You're Masaharu Kaito from the Matsugane family!
Huh? Yeah. Well, I've been out of the family for a while now, but,
Man, I've been looking all over for you. I'm Jun Sadamoto.
Sadamoto.
So he's June.
What is that name? You're Mikiko's kid?
Guess we meet at long last. I heard you used to roll with the Matsugane family, so I've been asking people who looked the part what they knew. Should have seen my face when I found out you guys broke up.
Okay, well, wanna tell me why Mikiko's kid is going around looking for me?
Here's the deal, Kaito-san. I want you to find my mom.
Say what?
Yeah, I thought you might have a clue where she is. You two used to live together and all.
How does he know that?
Kid, let me be frank. I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told your pops. You're asking the wrong guy.
Wait, my dad came to you about this? Hey, where are you going?
Home.
Wait up! Dude, what the heck? I thought you were Mom's ex. Don't you care about her at all?
She's nothing but a stranger to me now.
But listen, we haven't heard from her in 2 years. That's if she's still alive. Don't you think she's in some kind of trouble?
How should I know? Maybe she's having the time of her life without some brat all up in her business.
The hell? Okay, back it up a sec. My mom would never desert me.
Then where'd she go, huh? Get lost already.
I bet you just don't want to see her because she ditched your sorry ass. I read all about it in her diary. How Mom wanted you out of the Yakuza so she could marry you with a clean conscience. But then you went on some kind of dangerous mission. Better die a henchman than live as a husband, huh? And now you turn your back on her again? No wonder you two are strangers. What? You want to go?
Might want to ease up on the grown-up act, kid. Anyway, your mom and I are ancient history. So unfortunately, I can't do anything for you.
What if I told you I'm your son? Then what? You're still gonna walk away?
Nah, that's bullshit.
What did you just say?
I said, you and Mom might have had me.
Wait. This is total crazy talk.
It was written in Mom's diary, around the time you broke up.
Her diary?
Yeah, I read what happened after you went on some raid and you guys split. Apparently, she didn't get to tell you that I was a little fetus at the time.
You gotta be shitting me.
I am not shitting you! I actually think you're my dad.
But then why? After all this time?
They kind of act the same.
Listen, why else would I be busting my ass to find you? Now come on! You and I are gonna go find Mom, and then she'll tell you herself.
Where's my playtime? Oh, that's my. Wait, I don't have any actual saves. Okay, whatever.
It was just another day in Kamurocho. After resolving a local incident, Kaito is approached by Kyoya Sadamoto, who asks him to search for his late wife Mikiko. Mikiko was Kaito's old flame, who parted ways with him long ago. Kaito turns Sadamoto down before any past wounds can reopen. But he soon finds himself face to face with Sadamoto's son, June. That's when June tells him the unthinkable. That Kaito might be his real father.
How come the husband didn't say anything?
The Matsugane family was on real bad terms with a rival. Like waiting for all-out war to kick off bad. One day, I got a call from the office saying they need me right away. So of course, I hauled ass over. Hey! What's the situation?
Some lady busted in here, and it seems like she means business.
Huh? You called me over some lady?
Not just any lady. A real Hellcat. Says she ain't leaving till the boss gets back. Look.
I'm not messing around! Oh, for the love of God, it hurts! Let go of me, you crazy bitch! Listen up! You lay a finger on Maho, I'll snap his arm clean off!
Matsumi.
Hey sis, this is bad. It's real bad.
Hey, what the hell? Am I seeing this right? Why is Hoda getting his ass whooped?
I take it this gorilla is your muscle? You gonna try me or beat your chest?
You're the one calling me a gorilla? Guys, what the fuck happened?
It all started with the girl on the floor. She racked up quite a bill at one of our host clubs, but when the check came, she couldn't settle. We were gonna have to work it off at a cabaret club, but this chick busted in and went fucking ballistic.
What? Wait, how exactly is any of this our fault?
You tell me, man. I wash my hands of it. You're running the cabaret club starting next month. You deal with this shit.
Oh, come on. Hey, Hoda, let's hear your side.
She barged in here out of nowhere and came straight at me. Out of nowhere, my ass. I had to do something.
For real? You two have to get your stories straight.
Uh-oh. Huh, this is gonna be weird. Let's do this.
What have we here?
What are you staring at?
Just wishing I could have met a foxy lady like you outside of here.
What?
Tell you what I'll do. I'm gonna take you to the finest bar in town, and we can hash this all out over drinks. Oh, and I've got just the place in mind. It's real cozy.
Just try hitting on me again.
Whoa, sorry. Hey, Hoda, what'd you do to end up like that?
Fuck, I don't know. She just burst in the office and told us to give her her sister.
Hang on, so her sister was already here?
Yeah, she was supposed to start working at one of our cabaret clubs. But when this one busted in the door, she was already demanding to see the boss. When I
said he wasn't here. She yelled at us to call him and let her wait in his office.
Obviously, talking to you assholes won't get me anywhere.
Is this it? What have we here?
Hey, I already got that. There we go.
So, you're this mad woman's sister, right?
Please don't kill me!
Whoa, no one's killing anybody.
Speak for yourself, asshole! You leave my sister alone!
This right here. What have we here?
Take another step and his arm goes snap like a twig!
No, I hear you. Let's try and simmer down a bit, shall we? Hey, Hoda.
Fuck, I don't know.
Hang on.
Yeah, this guy said he wasn't here.
Obviously.
Let's see.
Okay, let's go around here. Okay, so nothing back there, huh? What about over here? No. Nope.
Let's see.
I got to investigate the room, huh? Obviously, I should.
Is this it? What have we here? Hey, what happened here?
Well, it happened so fast. I don't know. As soon as I came in here, this was happening.
How does nobody know what happened? Was it nap time in the office or something? Fine. Guess I'll have to take a look around and make the call myself.
All right, so we got that.
Let's see.
So they're gonna make me look around and shit, huh?
Is this it? All right. I see what's going on here, Mikiko Natsume. I figured a gal wouldn't bust in here without reason. If anything, you and your sister are the victims. Well, here and now. Not for the host club stuff.
Huh?
I'm saying these jerk-offs never learn their hospitality. I'd like to apologize for the rough reception.
Okay. What's your angle here?
I know you didn't come here just to drag your sister off and leave her dead unpaid. At the very least, I'm sure snapping off limbs wasn't your first intention. You see this? You're the one who brought those sweets, right? That alone tells me breaking Hoda's arm wasn't your plan A.
Well, well. Guess you're the smartest ape of the bunch. So what?
Well, I can also tell how your negotiations broke down. The evidence is right here in front of me. It was your sister. Look how her top got messed up. Even though you kicked things off polite, it seems Hoda got hands-on at some point. Which explains why you got him crying uncle in his own office.
Not bad for a Yakuza. You sure you're not a detective in disguise?
Oh, hell yeah, I'm a detective.
If they ever kick me out, I may just consider it. But listen, Mikiko-san. You have to admit, your sister is partly responsible. If you're gonna play, you gotta pay. It's just basic business, you see?
I know how business works, and I never said we wouldn't pay you back.
Okay, then what's the issue?
The issue is, Maho's enrolled in college back home. If she ends up stuck as some hostess in Tokyo, she may as well kiss her education goodbye. I just want to see her graduate, find a career, and live a happy life.
Can't your parents loan you the cash to get her out of this?
No way! They'd freak if they knew I went to host clubs, let alone got into debt over one!
Well, that part's all on you.
Look, I get it with you people. 3 million yen is a lot. I actually came to discuss repayment. But then this douchebag grabs my sister like some barbarian!
God, I only did it because your sister got shitty with me!
Then Mikiko-san, what's your real plan here? You got a lead on 3 mil somehow?
Well, I work in Shinjuku. Just a desk job during the day. But my nights are pretty much free. And in college, I worked as a server. I even got Employee of the Month a few times. Now, I know I've never been a hostess, but it can't be that different. At the very least, I'm a lot more qualified than my sister.
Wait, are you saying...
I'm saying I'll work for you instead. I'll even give you a start date. How's that for basic business?
Okay, a lot better than...
That's how I met Mikiko. She was just so headstrong and full of personality. That tenacity of hers pushed her to the top in no time. Not to mention, she was a real ball-buster. She'd take it upon herself to punish bad customers. And, since it was my job to look after her, I'd step in when things got ugly. Which happened a lot.
So this Mikiko chick's covering for her sister. Not a bad plan. It's rare to see someone go that far, even for flesh and blood.
Apparently, a car crash took their parents out when they were little. That was their only family. After that, they were lucky enough to get foster parents. Seems they're one big happy family now.
Interesting. But is the boss gonna be cool with a swap?
Says he doesn't see an issue, long as we get paid.
Fair enough. Just make sure she doesn't skip town and make it an issue, Aniki.
Nah, she won't be a problem. Rough as she is, her heart's in the right place.
Hey, what the hell was that for?
You know the rules. No touching, no exceptions.
Oh, come on. I'm a paying customer. Who are you to tell me what to do?
And who are you to feel up our staff? Nothing gives you that right.
It's okay, Mikiko. Really. Let's just go inside.
I'm handling it, Momoko-chan.
Damn, she's fucking crazy, bro.
We kicking this chick to the curb or what? Yeah! Curb stomper if you have to!
Call you back later, Higashi. Break time's over.
Aniki?
Damn.
Who's this fuck? I'm her bodyguard. If you want to get hands-on tonight, start with me. You heard that, boys? This fucking bastard! Take him down!
Here we go. Shit. Come on. Where's the big guy at? There he is. Let's do this. Fuck, he stabbed me, bro.
I'm really sorry. I just couldn't let them get away with what they did.
No problem. Your safety is my job.
Then I guess I'm in good hands, Mr. Bodyguard.
Yo, what's with your office? No guns, no family crest? This place is lame.
Bro, there's no family.
I'm out of that life. This is the detective agency I work at now.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. But damn, it's grody in here. You guys never clean up?
Kid, just take a seat, will ya?
My name's June, not Kid. Hey, that's...
Something your pops forgot to take home.
Huh. Weird.
Anyway, where are we at so far? Oh yeah, you were saying you're my kid.
You know, you could call me your son, since that's what I am and all.
No. I ain't doing that bullshit.
Just tell me what you know, alright? About your mom. Your pops filled me in on some of the details. Said something about how she might even still be alive.
Yeah, it always seemed off to me. I just can't imagine her taking her life.
But the DNA test said it was her, right? Feels like the odds of a mistake are pretty low.
I think Mom got caught up in some deep shit.
Deep shit? As in...
I don't know. But I think her suicide and the DNA tests were faked. She's gotta be out there somewhere. As for why she can't get in touch, maybe she just can't.
You sound like you thought this through. Any idea what happened?
Maybe something went wrong at work. Or she got kidnapped by some criminals.
Doesn't sound...
Yeah, what does she do for work again?
But now that you mention it, your dad did say she might have been anxious on the job. What did she do for work?
Oh, she ran a cafe. Her cafe.
No kidding. Does she run it all by herself?
Yeah, she was doing real good too. She knows how to handle people.
That's for sure. Though with her personality, I can also see her making a few enemies.
Well, she would have bad customers from time to time. There were also these people who tried to buy her out. But I can't think of anyone who'd want her dead, you know?
Buying her out, huh?
So, you think you're my son? And it says this in your mom's diary?
Yeah. She writes everything in that diary. This one she wrote 15 years ago, I think. It was right after the two of you broke up.
What exactly did she write?
Stuff like... I don't know if I should keep it. I'll never see Masaharu-san again. I should get this taken care of, though.
Hell of a thing for you to read.
Honestly, I get how she must have felt. After all, the man she loved walked out of her life and into a life-or-death situation. How could she marry and have a kid when her husband could get killed at any moment?
Yeah. Tragic, ain't it?
Then she decided to listen to her parents and marry the guy we all thought was my dad instead. But at some point between your breakup and their marriage, she found out she was pregnant. That's probably why you never got word of it.
Yeah, because the husband thinks June is his dad, but June could be Kaito's son.
Okay. For the sake of argument, let's say you are my kid. That means your dad got married, knowing your mom was carrying another man's child?
I guess so. Yeah?
He's really the type who'd commit like that?
Could be. Maybe he was just that into her.
I mean, sure, but, June, you said your name was. What kind of mom has Mikiko been to you?
What kind of mom? I guess I'd say she's been pretty cool.
She's been cool?
Yeah. Like, she would always lend a hand to someone in trouble. Even if it was some nasty flirt or a big hulking thug, she'd get right in his face and tell him off. A couple of times she almost threw down right in front of us. Dad would freak out big time.
Sounds about right.
Anyway, are you gonna help me find my mom or what?
Remember, I am a professional here. That means I get paid to work. And I doubt you can afford my services.
Oh, I think I've got that covered.
What? You gonna pay me in watches?
I swiped it when my dad wasn't looking.
Sure is a nice piece of work. How much do one of these run?
About 20 mil, give or take.
Wait, how much?
20 million yen, man.
Ha! 20 mil for this? Fat chance. I've seen shit just like this a block over for only 30K. You mean to tell me some idiot coughs up 20 mil to check the time? Never bullshit a bullshitting kid.
Don't believe me? Look it up. The brand's right there.
Uh-oh.
Okay. How do you even pronounce this? Bet it's some knockoff. Huh? Holy shit! Damn thing's over 19 million! This part of some vintage collection?
Nope, that's just the standard model. Dad's got a ton of them lying around, too.
Unreal. How long would it take to earn that?
What was that about being a bullshitter? So here's the deal, old man. I give you the watch, you go find my mom. What? Not good enough?
It's not yours to give in the first place. Put it back where it belongs.
You're really gonna say no because of that? Hey! Come on! Don't leave me hanging!
I'm leaving to go find Mikiko. You coming?
Oh, man.
You can call me Kaito, not man.
Ah, you got it, Kaito!
Hell yeah, we're gonna do it. Which is, I knew we were gonna do it, because it was in the trailer.
So, where do we start? Kamurocho's not exactly a small place.
It is a
There's
small
one
place.
spot your mom used to go all the time. Cafe Alps, it's called. Yeah, I remember. There she'd be, sipping on coffee, reading a book. No noise from the city to bother her.
Okay, and you think she might have went back there?
Only one way to find out.
Ooh, it's not far away. However, it is almost 10 o'clock. We've been streaming for almost 3 hours now. And I'm going to go finish up my dinner, walk my dog, and take care of all that fun stuff. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Save the game. Hopefully this will give me a challenge. Because, I don't know, like, I haven't played 6. And I haven't finished 5, so Judgment 1, Lost Judgment, and Like a Dragon were pretty easy. So, I'm gonna see how challenging hard mode is.